So we just did the cheers. We missed that because I forgot to hit the record button. But we're sitting here in Virginia Beach. I happen to be in the same area at the same time as my very special guest today, Kyle Defoor. Kyle, welcome to the Iron Sights Podcast, my dude.
Thank you very much.
I'm so stoked to have you. Like, this was like moon, sun, and stars lining up for us.
When you emailed me, you said, well, I was like, man, I'm going to be doing this trip. And you're like, well, I got to go to this trip. And I was like, wait, we're in the same city.
Yeah, where are you going?
So, it worked out good, man.
Yeah, I'm stoked to be here. I mean, I'll say this, and without, at risk of, I guess, blowing you up too much, I've known about you for a long time, and my interest in you as an instructor it goes deep because I think there's a lot of parallels between kind of how your career went from a coaching perspective and mine did in the fitness industry.
Yeah.
And so comparing, and contrasting what those careers are and what you've done versus what I did, it's not comparable. But I just think the pathway, and we're going to get into this a little bit. So I'm so pumped to dig into kind of the journey that you've been on, and the fact that you're still doing it, and kind of where you fit into this mix, if you will, of all these instructors in a fast and furiously moving industry that doesn't seem to be slowing down at all, and it won't for a long, long time.
No, it's definitely it's good, man. It's I've done a decent job of not having a real job, and I think my whole life. So, and I think me and you were probably about the same age.
Yeah,
so you probably started your thing about the same time I started mine. But yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on here. Man, you're a serious podcast. Iron Sights is no joke, man. I scrolled, and I was like, I listened to a little bit of one because I wanted to kind of get the feel for it, but I'm busy. But yeah, man, thank you for having me. This is real. I mean, this is legit.
Man, I appreciate it. It sounds a little weird to hear. I got to be honest, kind of given where the roots came from and kind of what we've been doing and how we've been handling it. But I say it on every show. I'm blessed and I feel privileged to be able to be in a position to sit in front of guys like you and talk shop and all the stuff that we talk about. And it's weird to think, how this has happened for me on my journey along the way and where it started and where it is now. And it's a little surreal, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. So. And we were talking earlier about voices. I can hear it now. You got the big voice. You got the big podcast voice. And I'm like, God, I don't listen to my own shit, TV, anything. I never listen to anything I've been on. But like right now, these headphones are driving me crazy. I'm like, God, I can't stand how I sound.
What's weird about that is I had a really big problem with it when I started. And it'll sound narcissistic, but anybody that does this long enough, and I've talked to a lot of people that have, you got to listen back, and it was so hard for me to listen back, like to cut out the ums and. Well,
you got to edit, so
yeah. So there's all of that. There's all of that, and I have an amazing team. Shout out to my boy Eli at 8482 Media that makes me sound and look good and puts all the stuff together that you guys see out there after the fact. But it was really outside my comfort zone to like be on camera or be talking on the thing.
Interesting.
Because if you look at, and I didn't have any social media until, I'm going to say like 2017. We expanded our gym. That's the business right at the end of this. And we went from like having like 2,000 square feet to having 6,000 square feet and had to fill it up. And we're like, fuck, we better get on this Instagram game, right? And so we started to do them like, okay, how do we do this without me having to be on it? Because putting a camera in front of my face and talking to it, in any situation just felt really weird.
Yeah.
So
I remember back in the day, before Instagram and Facebook, or maybe around the time they were coming about, I did a couple of TV shows. I mean, we can talk about the getting into it, but when I was at B-Dub, and the first TV show I ever did, it was real high production. And I mean, at first you're just like,
right.
It was so overwhelming.
Right.
And some of that you had to watch back. And that's the first time you hear yourself like on professional audio and you're like, oh my God.
Right. Same.
I'm like, man, this is horrible.
Same.
But it's also, I got to tell you one thing on shooting, and I know we'll get into it. That was the first time, and that would have been like late aughts.
Okay.
Middle, late aughts, where they were using high-speed cameras on some of the shooting.
Oh, okay.
And literally having us put bullets past the camera. Because on the high-speed camera, I forget how many frames per second, you can see the rotation of the round, right? it was the first time that I realized that sometimes I don't shoot with both eyes open.
Oh yeah, just watching yourself.
Well,
back.
because you're watching you get to see it real time, and,
Right.
and I'm like, ooh. Like depending on the size of target and, irons, dot, magnification, and all these different things, I was like, sometimes I got a little squint going on there.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry to digress.
No, you're not digressing at all. It's just an interesting, again, these are things you learn over time, taking the reps.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a huge theme, I think, for this particular episode as we get into some of the questions that I have for you today. And the amount of reps that you've taken and how you've taken them and who you've taken them with and all the things that come along with that. And so that's actually a really great segue into this, if I'm being honest. I guess the social media thing, in my own story, right, and not wanting to be involved with it, but really wanting to look, if we're going to put content out, I'm going to be really picky about what goes out there. Like, I want to make sure we're providing value, number one. Number two, I don't want to be trying to sell something every time I get on the thing, right? So, which is interesting because what I just said was, yeah, but I got to now fill the gym with people that I didn't have because I had also extra square footage and blah, blah, blah. So how do you do that without... How do you get on and not try and sell when that's really what you're trying to do?
Right.
And so it's hard. Well, it was at the time because I certainly didn't have it figured out. I mean, I missed the whole, like you said, we're the same age. Like I did none of the Squarespace stuff. I missed the whole Facebook thing until I actually opened the business in 2010, and a guy's like, dude, you got to be on Facebook. I'm like, what the fuck is Facebook, man?
Yeah.
And so then that happened, and I was really resistant, like internally resistant to it. Just didn't want to get involved with it. I just saw, like, it was like, who wants to fucking see what I ate for lunch today,
right.
Or any of that stuff and whatever. And I didn't want to put the family up there and all that stuff. It was just weird. So, like, I was a late adopter of the whole thing. And so, when I look at, how people are putting their social media together now and the instructors that are doing a really good job of it, they almost don't know a world where that social media thing doesn't exist.
You've got a generation that grew up with it subconsciously as kids, whereas we, like I've been doing it long enough to where the only thing you had at first was a Google blog.
Right.
Facebook came along. It took it a year or two of traction for people to go, hey, you should get a Facebook page. Facebook was king for a long time until Instagram came along. And then, of course, Instagram. And I would tell people, like, if you're listening to this, thinking about getting into the business of any business, I don't care if you're slinging asphalt or cutting grass, there's ways to track the analytics. Like if you got an e-commerce store, which all of us have to have nowadays for getting payment, it'll tell you 80% of sales came from Instagram, right. And you're like, oh, I hate that. God. I mean, it's mind-boggling, dude.
And you have to swallow that, and you have to go, okay, well, if you're going to play, then you've got to play that game. Because
it's not. There's definitely been some dudes who were not quick to come over to that, and it hurt them, And I'm not saying you got to be an Instagram expert, but you have to. It is a part of our lives nowadays, just like phones. It's just the way it is. I mean, like. Think of our great-grandparents, when a car came along.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's like, what is this
I'm going to keep riding my horse.
Right. Was old Betsy out there?
A few more years, I'm going to keep riding my horse. Well, at some point, you got to switch over, man. You got to do it. You just got to accept it.
Yeah, so in doing that, like, you see, again, it's interesting that was not a game that you were playing, for a long, long time. So going back to the, like, how do I know about Kyle? Well, I know about Kyle mostly through YouTube, and then, but I wouldn't have gotten there without the recommendations from the people that I really respect in the industry. So
that's humbling.
Yeah, and so the reality of that is there are other dudes that do what you're doing now that haven't been doing it nearly as long as you've been doing it, but look to you as an example to do what they're doing now.
Yeah.
So
I've done a little bit of mentoring.
Yeah, so
and I try to make a point of it now. I'm at that point in my life. So.
Well, I think like the humbling part is, and I think this is the best part about it is that these guys are giving credit where credit is due, and that's not as easy to come by as it maybe used to be in the past. Because it's very easy for people to just kind of rip something off from somebody else because they saw it on a YouTube video or on Instagram or whatever else, or they heard it in a class and they start calling it their own when they don't really know the origins of it.
Right.
But somehow they own it now. And that, to me, I've watched that happen in other industries and things like that, and it never really works out that long. So here's the things to kind of set the stage, because I want to talk a little bit about a lot about your background in the journey that you've gotten to get here, or taken to get where we're at. But this is the thing that for listeners that may not know you, or aren't, let's just say, as aware of where you're coming from and where this conversation is go to. I'm just going to set the stage with this. When I look out there today, Instagram, right, which is
the G,
was where we live there. We live there, right? When I look out there, most instructors that are doing really well, and that's not everybody. It's not everybody, but most instructors that I think are doing really well. When I say really well, to qualify that, I mean they have a legitimate business that they're running. Number two,
they're in the pool.
They're in it,
holding a 45-pound plate in the deep end with me.
Yeah. There you go.
I'm not saying I'm obsessive about it. That's my. Whereas we do know there's some people with seeing with their toe how cold is the water.
Yeah, because they've got another job. Right. Or this has been a hobby they're trying to turn into a job. You said something interesting earlier about you've never had a real job in your life. So this is the thing, right? Like, this is a real job. This is how you put food on the table. This is how you feed the family. And this is something that you take to other people that make a living with a gun, so that they can provide food for their family and come home every night. And that's legit, right? Versus, hey, I have a hobby. I'm out on I can be out on the range because I got I'm getting checks from somewhere.
Right.
Somebody's paying me something, or I'm very fortunate. Somehow, more power to you. And you're putting out great content, and there's nothing wrong with that content.
No,
there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. I'm just saying it's not the same as you legitimately running a business. And the compare and contrast is this: most people that are in that pool with that 45-pound plate over their head, treading water, and are doing it well, are kind of looking around like, who's going to be the first one to drop off because it ain't me. Most of those guys are somewhere in like the 3 to 5 year mark in terms of their business and their business growth from the inception till now. That's almost like almost a senior population to a certain extent. And a lot of these guys have sort of, let's just say, been out of the military or law enforcement for about that long. And so they're looking for, hey, I still got something.
Yeah.
And I still want to provide and I still want to contribute. And so they turn it into this. Versus you've been doing this almost, I think we did the math, like 18 years or close to 18 years. Just 3 times the amount of time that a lot of other people have.
Yeah.
Now, devil's advocate could say, well, that just means this dude's an old dude and he's just
not
teaching
fast
old
anymore.
shit. Right.
He can't hit nothing.
This is old school stuff that he's going to continue to put out. You can look at it that way, or you can look at it as this guy's had more reps than 99% of the guys that are out there. And he's done it in front of, and here's the thing that the reps get you, and I'll shut up. But this is what really trips me out. The things that the reps get you are, you get to be put back in front of people constantly that you've trained year over year over year, not necessarily like continuously. Like you may have trained them for, a few courses in this year, and 3 years later, they come back to you for more or for an update. They get to tell you what they're seeing out there in the field, what's working for them, what isn't, what they really need help with. So you get to evolve along with them. And so you've seen this like cycling of people coming through, which I think that's really intriguing to me, because you're going to have a totally different insight than people are only just seeing people for the first time as instructors, and they're going, shit, these guys got a lot to learn.
Yeah.
But you don't know where they've necessarily come from.
Yeah, sure.
And as a coach, that's good job security for you, right? Because now that you could be like you could turn this into more than just a hobby. So anyhow, again, this is about you, but I wanted to put that out there for the people that are listening that don't really know you, and why I think it's so important that you listen to what Kyle has to say, because this isn't just an old dog who's teaching old tricks. Right? This is a dude that's taught new tricks on new tricks that became maybe old tricks that he had to adopt new things to.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear about that. So I usually start this with, dude, you start and finish wherever you want, but let's talk about your journey and how you got to where you're at, man.
So, the quick down and dirty, Southern raised kid in Alabama, shooting was just And there very well could be people listening to this that are like, I mean, I'm telling you, it was like a normal thing. Like you would grab your 22, you grab your 410, you go out back because I lived on a farm and you just shoot stuff, you know, cans, whatever, targets, you know, so guns have always been just a thing. I came in the military, did about a dime in the military, about 10 years. You know, got some good real world experiences in that, that can definitely have little addendums to some of the tactics, especially, you know, like this week I'm doing a, you know, straight tactics class for the mill. But after that, I was at that 10-year mark sitting around and I'm like, okay, you know, I'd actually done, I never really, you know, I kept extending to stay in the military and to do a deployment and come back and did another deployment, blah, blah. And so, you know, kind of go time. Stay 20, get out. You're at 10. And actually, I was a little over 10. So, got out, essentially immediately went to work at Blackwater.
Okay.
So that's where that's where it started, I think. I think as far as like, for me learning, you know, and to be quite honest, got there and realized that I'm not as good as I thought I was.
You mean when you get to Blackwater as an instructor?
Yeah. Like, especially when we started putting the big numbers through there. You know, this would have been, so by the time I get out of the mill and start there, it's 2005. Late 04, early 05.
Okay, so let's time out on the Blackwater thing because there's a lot of people that are entering this space that may have heard about it. They may know about like Nasur Square and the incident that happened there.
Sure. So,
but I don't know. I would be willing to bet that people go, oh yeah, Blackwater, yeah, I've heard of that. But they don't really know exactly what Blackwater was and what it was doing at the time that you're talking about. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yes. So Blackwater, you know, I would say at this point it's almost become an urban legend and there's a lot of misconstrued information. So Blackwater was a company formed by Eric Prince, former SEAL. We were at Team 8 around the same time. I didn't really know him that well. You know, he was an officer. You're
not really dealing with that.
I'm not dealing with that. I'm a new guy. Blackwater had multiple entities. There's the training department, Firearms and Tactics. That's what I was a part of. All we do is train people at the facility in Moyock, North Carolina. You've got Blackwater overseas, the contracting, the guys who are, adjuncting with, the government or the military in some space of being a security guard.
Some other government agency
whatever,
doing
right.
some level of something.
At that time, you had Blackwater targets. They made steel targets. They made, et cetera. So you had a bunch of different aspects to it. I had nothing to do with the overseas stuff. All I did was the training. Now, to put it in context for the listener, in those golden years, 05 to 08-ish, late 04 to essentially, like you said, Nasur Square, which I believe was in 09. I believe that was spring of 09. And that was a shooting that happened with the Blackwater contractors overseas, very controversial. I would call that the end of Blackwater time. I mean, everybody
pretty much the end. Yeah.
agrees with that. And that was the end, in my opinion, of even the training part that I was a part of because it's such a bad reputation. But between when I got there and between Nasur Square, there were times we're doing 700 students a week. And a lot of people cannot wrap their mind around that. Yeah, I'm talking about, 400 students a week, normal. I mean, we figure this, we built a hotel on property. We built a chow hall on property. We had multiple storage areas for ammo that were military approved. It was not an unusual deal for you to do a 30-man class. Now, obviously, you're not by yourself. You got another one or two guys with you, but big numbers. I mean, massive.
And who are these guys? Like, who are these people coming through?
Almost all military. Because what you're finding there is that, so now, it's not the beginning of Afghanistan. It's not the beginning of Iraq. It's those early middle years. And the bottom line is we could do it cheaper than the Army could train themselves.
Faster?
Cheaper and faster. And plus, you're looking at a lot of us had GWAT time. Whether they 1 deployment or 2 deployments or 5 deployments or whatever it might be.
There was experience.
So we had the experience to know enough about what we were training them for. And Blackwater could do it cheaper and faster. And, when you look at all-encompassing Blackwater, and I think Eric, I'm sure he's done this on interviews before, pretty much everything he did, he could do cheaper and faster than the military could. And I would argue that almost all the time it was better. We had a lot of influence on a lot of early tactics that were kind of not, I would say techniques, actually, not tactics, that we were like, this is not going to work there. Like I was there a year ago. It's not going to work, And
but the guys that they were learning from, I would imagine, in the Army, the Marines, right, wherever, the Navy, the instructors that they're getting this instruction from hadn't actually been through these experiences yet.
Well,
hadn't had enough time.
I think you weren't on the full cycle yet. I think they've deployed. They're not back in the leadership or training role yet.
Right. So the ship hasn't turned.
Right.
They haven't been able to turn that ship of, well, this is what the training needs to look like, and we need to reinvent this thing for a minute.
Now, as soon as those guys are getting back, and then, of course, this started at the beginning of the war. Guys get injured, guys get shot. They need a rest and recovery. Right. Guys have been going hard for 2 or 3 years. He needs to chill for a minute. He goes to training. And by that point, that's kind of when we were, Black Oil were settling down a little bit. But massive numbers that I saw. I mean, like, just crazy. I mean, really a good place to be. And I've told this to people before, it was the best place. If you're going to be a professional shooter, a professional shooting instructor, it was the greatest intro to it that could ever be. And it'll never exist again. I'll tell you that right now. It'll never happen again.
So that's what's intriguing about this was kind of a golden age for a very short period of time. It was like the dawn of industrialization, where things got so advanced so quickly, and it was so innovative for that period of time because it needed to be. And then things change, as things inevitably do. But you're talking about 700 a week. So,
that was a high end. It could be 300, it could be 400.
Still, I mean,
it's crazy.
Still, talk to an instructor now, and how many students do they see a week? Maybe 50 if they're doing a good job.
That'd be unusual.
If they're doing 3 classes a week, and then those classes have 15 to 20 in there, a class or something like that. I mean, so we're going back to the reps thing, and we're going back to what you're seeing, and how quickly you have to evolve your training, and what those reps give you from a coaching experience perspective. So I'm wondering with this 300 to 700 a week, and just pause for a second. If you guys can hear we're literally in the F-18 flight path right
Oceana.
Now. Yeah.
The sound, we call it the sound of freedom here.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's great. We were sitting at breakfast this morning, big Chinook just kind of cruised past us.
There's no telling what you might see here.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's great. A lot of Patriots here too, man, which is good to see.
Oh, yeah.
A little different than where we came from out in California. But let's talk about what's going on with the training while you're doing this. So let's say 300 to 700 people a week. What are you teaching them?
Oh, man, that's pistol, carbine, scoped rifle, CQB, breaching, non-explosive for the most part. So, everything but explosive. We did do some explosive breaching because a lot of us were breachers where we came from. Driving. I was never a driver instructor. I didn't ever do that, but a lot of them are coming for that. Big portion are going for that. Low vis stuff, and again, like the whole concealed carry thing. I mean, I was doing that we were starting that low vis thing when we didn't even know what low vis was, and there sure as hell weren't any appendix carry holsters. I can tell you that.
Is that right?
Oh no!
Wow,
no.
That might have just blown people's minds.
I mean, it was probably, I would say 06-ish. Was when the first appendix carry started coming out.
Carrying on the 3 o'clock, everything?
Yeah. Jacket, just total shit show. I mean, back then you thought you were cool, but nowadays you're like, oh my God.
We're laughing, but we're talking about like that's
it's interesting because
evolution.
The appendix carry thing. You were mentioning before we started, like some guys don't know where stuff came from. A lot of people don't know the guy who made appendix carry famous in the industry.
I don't know who that is.
I'll tell you. His name's Todd Green. He's dead. He died. He passed away. He had cancer. Todd was an interesting cat. He came to one of my classes. I got along with the guy. I didn't have a problem with a lot of people. He was kind of controversial or whatever. I think it was controversial because maybe he called out people's bullshit maybe a little bit. But he was the first guy that was actually really projecting appendix carry back when it was Custom Carry Concepts and Garrity Leather. Those are the two that were making appendix rigs out of leather.
Back in the day, I remember seeing those on the shelf at the store.
And the clips were horrible.
Yeah.
God forbid we thought back then to put a Sayat Kali clip on it.
It was a little steel clip, almost like what you have on your pocket knife.
Yeah, you kind of had to make sure like you didn't draw too hard; it might come off, right? Yeah. But yeah, he was the guy who got that going. Okay.
And
it took a lot of us to go, hey, knock on the head. This is the easier way to hide shit.
Right.
You know, I just find it funny because, you know, I can't remember when he passed away, but there's a lot of guys, they have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. I mean,
they've come up to me and been like, "Hey, man, that Raven holster." You know, I'm like, "Dude, I didn't invent appendix carry. Like, I don't know what you're talking about."
It's so funny. I was just talking to another guy, one of my buddies, Joe Dawson, who's a real nerd about the history on things, particularly firearms, like understanding like what was this made for? Where did it come from?
Yeah.
Who invented it? How did this even come about? Like, why was this even a thing? So that when it comes to understanding it, you understand it at the deepest level. And then, you know, if you're teaching it, you happen to be in a position to be able to teach it, give people context to how it evolved or where it came from or why it was done, why it's done differently. Not just, well, we do this because this is how it's always been done. There's a story behind it. And I think that can be important, but it's also, there's value in that story because there's usually a lot of application that went into it to getting there. Yeah. And so it's interesting because most people just be like, appendix carry, I didn't even know there was anything else.
Yeah, and you can go further back than that. I mean, if I want to bore you real quick, I mean, there were guys, there was a holster called a Midnight, I think it was a Midnight Special. Yeah, and I can't remember the guy who came up with it. There were some USPSA guys screwing around with that stuff late 70s, early 80s. Okay. But, you know, you're talking about one-offs. But if people Google the Midnight Special, I believe that's what it was called. I'm having a little bit of a brain fart. I'll tell you another good example of it. Me and you know Miami Vice from the 80s. Of course, man. I mean, of course, Crockett and Tubbs. Long live Crockett. There is an episode, and there was a USPSA shooter named Jim. I can't remember how to pronounce his last name. Maybe Zumbaina. If people Google it, they start Googling Miami Vice, Jim Zumbi, ZUB something.
The Google food.
They'll figure it out. There's a great scene in Miami Vice, and this would have been 84, 85. And he does an appendix draw and a failure drill on one of Crockett and Tubbs' friends.
Oh, okay.
And it is super famous. And I have had, in my journey of 18 years, I've gotten to talk to guys who worked on the set with Michael Mann, and they're like, "Hey, dude, that's not sped up. That's legit."
Okay.
And
I'm going to have to go back and look.
And if you go to Google Pact Timer, PACT, Pact Timer, I think, has a video on their YouTube where they've actually timed it, and it's legit. I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, so like appendix carry, like basically been done since the early 80s.
Yeah, it's funny you're bringing that up. I think Miami Vice, like I think fucking Miami Vice was on way past my bedtime at that age.
Didn't matter, though. It did matter.
Anyways, but that I love the side trip there because it really gives some texture to kind of where this conversation is going. Because if we get back to the Blackwater training and all the things, you just rattle off about 6 or 7 things that are being trained out there, and you're doing the firearms instruction piece of this, right?
I was doing breaching too and sniper stuff
because you have to,
right?
Because that's what they need. And so I guess my question is like, how organized was this? Like, how did the curriculum come together? I mean, what?
So that's a very, you know, and that's what I was telling you, not to blow smoke on you, but I told you before we started going live, you ask good questions, and those are like, I mean, we invented it. You just had
to come up with it on the
right. Like back then, like when I was coming up in the military, when you go to a shooting school, there's no curriculum. It's some pro shooter who's like, oh, well, let's do this. You know, there's no
right
now. I mean, and that's fine, probably for small units that are a little bit more experienced, but we had to, you know, statement of work in the contract was you have to provide curriculum. So we're sitting there, a bunch of knuckle dragging dudes, you know, me, I'm like
single finger in a time.
Yeah, enter, you know. So we developed that curriculum. And that's another thing rep wise where, you know, people now with me, if they come to me, I'm at the apex of this as far as cutting out all the bullshit. I know what matters because once you start typing it out and you're like, oh God,
why are we typing? Why are we even telling anybody this?
Yeah, why are we telling people that fuck this?
Yeah, cut the fat, man.
Well, then the curriculum gets fine-tuned. You're cutting the fat. You're trimming the fat. The curriculum gets better. And it got to the point where once we started getting so many contracts, you know, and at first there's 4 of us, 4 full-time guys, me and 3 others. Well, then there's 8. Then there's 12.
So now this has to be
15,
replicated. Yeah.
Then there's 20. Then there's 25. Well, now we're at a point where we literally started hiring professional writers. They were there at Blackwater in the building we would just go in and dictate curriculum, and these ladies were amazing. I mean, like,
they just bang it out.
Well, that's what they do for a living, right. And that was impressive to watch them do that. And us, we're like, we screwed up a word, or a phrase or whatever. We got to go back there like, oh, I can. Dunsky, it's done in 30 seconds, So that's kind of how that started.
So it's a very fast evolution, right?
Oh, my God. It was wide open.
And I'm sure, like, I have to imagine, again, you're bringing on another instructor. You're like doubling your instructors.
Doubling, tripling, yeah.
Which means you're bringing on that much more talent. And
there were some serious players there back in the day.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, so now you're in the room with these serious players, right? Like, versus you might get in the room with a couple serious players if you went to a specific school in the military or a specific school maybe in law enforcement or whatever else, or some other government agency, blah, blah, whatever. You're in the room with I got to imagine. I got to imagine all the top players want to come to Blackwater, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're getting paid. It's a pretty good gig. And it sounds like to me, like
real good gig.
You almost have like an open checkbook, and you're getting all this autonomy to do the things that need to get done versus being hamstrung. You just said how the thing started evolving. You're cutting the fat and you're really giving people the meat and potatoes, so to speak. But it allows you to evolve things at the pace that you probably saw or were frustrated that things didn't evolve faster when you were in your previous life, right? Where you're
absolutely.
Just like, fuck, why does it take 6 weeks to teach somebody what it could take 2 weeks to teach them?
Army jump school is a great example of that.
That one gets used a lot.
Everybody in the military is like, and there's pieces of airborne school, and I'm talking about static line, that, it's 3 to 4 days now for certain people. It's not 3 weeks. It only took
fucking 50 years for it to get that way, right?
Yeah. So we were good at that, and anybody that if you're asking that question, you already know the answer. That when you've got a bunch of people doing that, well, what ends up happening is now everybody starts performing better on the actual shooting. Because you've got nothing else to do. Right. You don't have a side job.
Oh, you mean as the instructor?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Like performance is going off the charts. I mean, and you got to remember back then, the red dots are not a thing in the pistols. It's all irons, right? There's no LPVOs back then. I mean, I helped bring that in years later, but so we're basically red dots unmagnified on the carbine. But
it's just unlimited ammo. Unlimited weapons, whatever it is you want.
The way that I had it when I was in charge of everybody there is we would give you a vehicle.
Okay.
Most guys would choose, believe it or not, a minivan or a Jeep Cherokee. It's just, no plates on it. It never leaves property.
Okay.
Because the property's so damn big.
Oh, so you just throw your shit in it and go.
2 50 cal ammo cans in the back, completely full of 5.56 and 9mm all the time, period end.
Sounds like heaven.
It's like there's no, at a certain point, and I've told this to guys before, at a certain point, man, if you're not master class.
Oh, yeah.
For we were doing IDPA back then because I don't really know why. I think I was not really, I think we were more, early 2000s and mid 2000s, we were more like it's kind of more real. I mean, if I had to do it over again, I would have done stock production USPSA, but, we did IDPA, but, you had to make master on classifiers. Or we were just like, dude, like.
So that's actually another good question. With regard to, I guess, the curriculum and what a standard was or what a qualifier was, how was that decided? Were you guys, do you guys have basically carte blanche to make this up, or were you trying to go comparatively to whatever was required in the military and then step it up by a +2 or something like that? How did all that work?
So we would roundtable it. And we had a couple of guys come in who were actively on the IDPA circuit at the time, who were both masters. I think one of them might have been a GM, if there was GM back there. I can't remember. So long ago, back before they had everything on a computer. We would roundtable it, and we would come up with, and that was probably around that time where we were like, look, and you see this a lot. I don't want to fast forward too much in our conversation about the new instructors and what you see now. Yeah. But even back then, you would see things that people are like, this is what you need to be able to do. And it's like, well, it's doable, but you're going to have to give the guy some warm up. It's not going to be cold.
Okay.
And God forbid that guy comes off a rifle class and now you're putting him on pistol. It's just not going to happen. So we tried to make it really common sense for that. I used the hackathon standards a lot because I thought as a 60-round shooting test, and of course, coming from the military, all the shooting tests are 60 rounds. I thought that was a pretty decent pistol standard. I mean, the test is the test. You could score, it's 300. You could score 100. We liked 275.
Okay.
We're like, if 275, but what we made guys do down there is you had to shoot 275 with 4 different pistols.
Okay. This is a different story.
Way different story because, grip angle on a Glock compared to a SIG.
Way different.
Because back then we're doing a lot of instruction on 228s and 226s, astronomically different. Trigger pull, DASA, and so we had to do...
Because these are the government-issued firearms.
Back then, Army and Marines are carrying Beretta 92Fs.
So that's what you're training.
That's what you're training. Bone stock. We don't do anything to them. And then...
so as an instructor... You got to know all those firearms. You got to be.
Oh yeah.
You got to be as good as anybody.
You can't. Yeah.
Okay.
There's no showing up to a class for the SEAL team guys. They're carrying a 226 and you're shooting your Glock. I mean that's not.
Yeah, it's probably not ported and stippled and red dots and
stippling. We started the. I don't want to say we started it. We kind of popularized stippling.
Is that right? Yeah.
With soldering irons.
Yeah.
In the office.
I was just gonna say like in the apartment or in the hotel after. Again, there's so much happening there, and I'm just as a coach, I'm thinking about like how cool that is that you get to do all that stuff, right? And have exposure to all these things. Again, there's like a blank checkbook at the same time. It's like, well, if this is what the guys need, then this is what we need to give them. We know we can do it cheaper than the military can, so they're going to come to us anyway. Let's figure this shit out. And
another thing that a lot of guys that are newer now in the industry that they don't realize is like a guy's the hot up and coming thing and he gets a job with the Army. Mm-hmm. Well, you can thank all those dudes that worked with me at BW because we're the ones that paved that road to make that. It was very difficult for the military to hire outside people back then, especially when you look at impact card purchases and things like that. And we got that to where it was easier, to the point it is now, where it's basically fire and forget.
I think it's interesting also that you are referencing, the IDPA stuff, and that you were going to the professional shooters, and guys that were teaching were becoming professional shooters during that time. I think there's probably some stuff we should talk about there and kind of how your career evolved and maybe how you were doing that too. But people now are hearing a lot about USPSA because it's very... what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
it's most
available.
Popular.
Yeah, it's very popular. It's very available.
I
mean, you can find a match anywhere, right?
Yeah,
so it's accessible. Sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. It's very accessible to everybody. And people are hearing about this, and they're hearing how important it is to go out and compete, to test yourself outside of the flat range at paper at 7 yards or whatever. You're moving around, having to make decisions and things like that. I couldn't agree more that it's important to do that, to test yourself. And where do the fundamentals break down when you're under pressure and all those kind of things. Here's my point. My point is I think a lot of people are hearing that now, not understanding that this didn't just start. This isn't something that's come up in the last 3 to 5 years with the popularity of USPSA or IDPA. This stuff's been around for a very, very long time. It's just recently been more popularized, likely because of the social media behind it. And there's money to be made, let's be honest, right? In the association or whatever else, versus before, it was a little obscure.
Yeah, it was odd. I mean, it was not. It was just not a. It was not a thing. I think, and even to this day, I think a lot of the, somebody like me, where I'm at nowadays. I mean, if I'm going to take a weekend off or Saturday off to go shoot a match, I mean, I could be teaching a class. I could be making money instead of spending money. Right. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at nowadays. I mean, I would tell everybody that at some point you need to go down the competition route. I don't know that you need to stay in it for years and but you'll learn a lot about how to steal time. You'll learn a lot about what matters and what doesn't. And when you look at high level USPSA guys, I mean, the shooting is one thing, but a big part of that's stage development and movement, and that's a totally different ball game. I mean, right now, if I'm not even going to be in the same wheelhouse as any of those guys. As I haven't ran a stage in years. Besides something I set up on the range, but You know, there's a difference between just shooting something and then, you know, doing
Working
that
a problem.
game.
Working
And
a problem.
That problem in that game is serious. And the guys that do it the best, I mean, that's what they are very good at. I mean, there's guys now, which is interesting enough, all they do classes on, well, I'm going to teach you how to run stages in USPSA. I mean, that's what their classes are. And I mean, I would highly suggest people go to that if that's your game.
So this circles things back to how specialized things have gotten, right? So now you have instructors that literally have the ability to say, I'm only going to teach this thing.
Yep. Specialists. We call them specialists. I mean, most of us in the industry call them specialists.
Yeah, so it's like sports anymore. Like when I was a kid, we all played everything. We played soccer. We played basketball. We played baseball. You did this all year long. You transitioned from thing to thing. You were even in the Boy Scouts, and you were on the swim team too. You did two things. Nowadays, you can't do any of that. If you're going to play baseball, you play baseball
year round.
You play year round, and you play on this team with these guys. And you want to be in this league because it's the most competitive, and it gives you the best shot to get a look from a college coach or from a pro coach or whatever else. And so, in order to get the best look, you got to see the right batting coach or the right pitching coach or whatever it is, and you have to go to these camps, right, that teach this specific thing.
I'm living it right now. I got a 17-year-old, and I had my daughter was a D1 gymnast. So
my oldest, she's just about to turn 21. God bless her. She was heavy competitive into soccer, and it was all soccer all the time. And I loved it, but I also hated it because I think it robbed her of some experiences that she could have had doing some other things. This is the point to this. Let's go back to kind of what you were doing and how you were coming up. You had to be a quote unquote, you look at it this way, you can look at it being a jack of all trades or being a specialist at everything with regard to the different things you were having to teach and the exposure. So whether it's carbine, scope carbine, PRS stuff, pistol, those breaching, driving, all of these kind of things. If you're instructing, you've got to be at as close to the top of all of those as you can possibly be, given the challenges of trying to do that very thing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. I mean, that was it. That was the game. That was the job.
So, and I don't think, most people get that experience anymore. And if you go through the military, even go through law enforcement, obviously you're going to be that much more limited. Like you go to a specific school to do a specific thing, and then maybe 6-8 months or a year later, you can go to another school to do another thing, but you're generally a specialist at one thing, right? And if you're on the teams, maybe, and I don't know, I wouldn't have any idea about this because that's not ever been part of my journey. But there are things that you can get really, really good at, but at the expense of not being so good at something else. This was a very accelerated, after your military career. This is a very accelerated, educational experience, but also training experience in getting reps and things that, as you mentioned, I have to agree with you. I don't think there'll ever be a time again where people will have the opportunity to do what you did.
Not like we did, because I think, and we've talked about it before, I think it's just, I don't think the Gov is ever going to outsource for that kind of training again. Simply because I don't know who's going to do it.
Right.
I don't know where, having the guy who owned Blackwater, if we're in the red that month, I mean, the overseas contracts can help, whatever.
Yep. Back it up.
And that it worked like that, I don't see it happening. I don't even know how you could do it. The facility, you'd have to replicate what we built down there, which I've never seen. There's some great facilities in the nation right now. They're nothing compared to that place. You're comparing literally a Walmart-sized store to a mom-and-pop joint. I mean, it's just, and people that have never been there, they don't know.
Yeah, how do you even compete?
It's crazy. I mean,
so, again, just a wild time. Right.
Yes. Oh, wild as hell.
So we're talking about who you were teaching, what you were teaching, what you were learning, kind of at the same time. I think comes next. So you're seeing people go and people come back with a lot of experience now because they're getting right into the shit when they leave you. That's why they're coming to you guys, so we can get them there faster, and then they're coming back. What's the evolution of the training looking like while you're doing that?
So that's when the first time in my life where we get direct feedback. because we train, like you said, we train a group of dudes. They deployed to Afghanistan or Iraq. Year and a half later, 2 years later, they come back again. We were smart enough at the time to go, well, we're not deploying anymore. So, hey, what did you guys see over there? From the last course, what worked, what didn't?
There's not an ego in the way or like I know better.
I mean, we were, that was definitely a time in my life where I'm like, I've got to admit, like, I'm not doing it right now. And they would come back with good stuff. A lot of times they would come back, whether it was Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, whoever, Coast Guard. I mean, we were doing stuff with the Coast Guard too. They'd come back and say, hey, this is the thing. This is what we're seeing. And we would build curriculum off that.
And you could shift. Again, turning that ship takes a fraction of the time.
So now you're looking at having the targets that were manufactured there. I just go down to the head target dude, the head welder.
We need these today.
And I go, look, dude, this is what I need.
Wow.
And he's like, okay. I need a mover that goes this fast because this is what they're seeing.
Yeah.
He's like, be ready next week.
That's outstanding.
And I mean, that's the way it rolls.
How fun.
It was, and I know a lot of us, and I've talked to some of the guys up there with me, in the past few years, and it's like, man, I wish we had taken more pictures. I wish we had, we weren't smart enough about that kind of stuff. I mean, there's definitely pictures out there, but, it was wide open, dude. I mean,
it was a different day, though. It's like, where would you have put them? In a photo album or in a shoebox, right? Versus now, they're locked in digitally.
Remember those disposable cameras?
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
I totally remember. I still got tons of those pictures in a fucking storage unit somewhere that I'll never probably look at again, but I got them. All right. So, okay. How long does B-Dub work go for?
4.5-ish years or so. Nasur Square happened. I was in charge. I'm the head dude, right? I'm in charge of all these guys, the shooting thing. And I was like, man, this is not looking good.
Yep.
Some other things happened politically that I think I was like, this is, if I lose this. And now you got to look at it at this point. I've done 10 years in the military. Had a steady paycheck for 10 years. I've been there for 4 or 5 years, steady paycheck that kept getting better and getting a little worried. And so,
what are the legs on this thing? Like how much time we got?
Because I mean, a lot of the stuff that, like the political aspects of it, people are like, you keep the mercenary word is thrown around. Yep. It's like, look, I mean, like, again, it's a cheaper way to do it. So I made a decision to get out of there. I went to, there was a guy that worked at B-Dub that was an officer in the Army at a specialized unit in the Army. And it was the equivalent of where I was at in the Navy. And he formed his own company.
Okay.
And he kind of like said, hey, you want to pop down there? North Carolina. He's like, do the same thing you're doing. Do it for me. I'm like, all right. So I did that.
Just you guys?
It was just, him. And then we hired a bunch of Army guys that were out of Bragg, out of the Fayetteville area. And so I did that for about a year.
And who are you coaching? Who are you training?
That was Tiger Swan. The company's called Tiger Swan. Same thing.
Same.
Military.
Gotcha.
I mean, it was just a who's who. I mean, we, Ranger Regiment, I mean, anybody and everybody. I mean, again, it would be an impressive list, everybody.
Gotcha.
And I did that for about a year, and then, essentially got to the point where I was able to get a job that was actually a non-shooting job, but it was something that I had done in the military.
Okay.
And somebody had found my name, and they came to me and they said, hey, man, I always carried a clearance because everything we did at BW had to have a clearance for a lot of the stuff I did because of who we were training. So I always had a clearance. I never didn't. I'm still to this day, I mean, since 17 years old, I've never not had a clearance with the mill. So I got offered that job, and that was at the point where me and the wife were like, if I'm ever going to do my own thing, this would probably be a good launch point for that. And so that's what I did.
How old are you at the time?
Well, that was 2009. Oh, you're making me do math in public.
Yeah, no, okay.
As my buddy J.D. Patinsky says from Northern Red, don't do math in public.
You're 2009. You're 40 or you're 30 years old. No.
How old am I?
How old was I in 2009? I'm doing the math right now. Right?
Let's see. 34, 35.
Yeah.
Which is probably late, I guess, for most people.
Again, like I was saying, that was the exact same time in my life where I was going. I was the same thing. I was watching a company was going through a bankruptcy, going, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a transition time for that to happen. Like you can't just go in one day and go, yeah, I've decided. Like you have a lifestyle that you're accustomed to.
Yeah.
You got to figure out your shit. Like, and where am I going to be and all those things. So, you got to have some conversations, some tough conversations, right? I mean, so you move into this thing and you're doing it for a bit, but you decide to do it on your own. Mm-hmm. I mean, at this point, from a coaching perspective, curriculum perspective, what to teach, you got connections, there's all those kind of things. That's probably not, people listen to that, it kind of makes sense. It's probably time to do it. What's the reality of that though? Like, what'd you find out?
Man, I would tell people, like, any of the guys that I've tried to mentor in this industry, I mean, I screwed up everything. There's nothing, I didn't do anything correctly. You think, okay, I'm getting this one contract, life's looking good, and then
feast or famine.
And this would have been, we formed the company in September, Defoor Performance. We formed in September of 2009. I didn't know what I didn't know, obviously. And again, it's still, this whole shooting thing is kind of still in its infancy at the time.
Nobody's doing what they're doing now.
It's not even close. And so, like, you don't realize how expensive targets are because I've never bought targets before.
Mm-hmm. You just went down and asked the dude down at the warehouse guy, I need this next week.
I mean, and I'm not kidding you, at B-Dub, you had a walkie-talkie and you got on there, target guy. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm on range 9, bring me 200 USPSA cardboard.
That's
and
great.
It shows up. Well, now I got to buy it. I'm like, oh my God. Well, now I'm not on Blackwater's credit card to fly to California. I'm on Kyle's credit card to fly to California. So these things, I mean, a lot of pasting of targets, I'm like, no, we can get some more tape on that.
Yeah, we get some more tape.
I guarantee you we can get more tape on that, I mean, it was tough, man. And a lot of people don't realize that we had a gov shutdown in 12.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that one.
And so you figure I started in 9. I mean, you can call it, for easy math, say January of 10. I mean, I'd only been around 3 months. Everybody knows the first 5 years of your business is the one that makes it or breaks it.
It's hard, man.
And in 12, we have a real gov shutdown. Not this bullshit that you had like in whatever, 17 or 18 or, a week.
Yeah.
Here. I mean, we had a real...
we got tired and we took some days off.
They're like, we're done ski for a few months. And you're like, man, this is a bad decision. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of learning. And here's another one. And here's something we can get into when we get to the guys that are in the industry now. Blackwater gave you every gun. Everything.
Yeah.
So those 4 pistols we're talking about. So you got a SIG, you got a Beretta, you got a Glock, and you got an HK, because those are the 4 that were the mill and the gov were using. So you've got those 4 pistols.
You got 10 grand worth of pistols right there.
You've got 2 carbines. You got a shorty. You got a 14 and a half. Set up with whatever optics you want. If you were a sniper like me, you get an M700, you get a Mark 12. Well, now I got to buy guns.
Oh yeah, there's that.
And you hard to be a pro shooter without a gun,
and you got to maintain them.
And
you got to travel with them,
right? I mean, that's like, you're like, dude, you're learning all this stuff. Hey, man, you're overweight. $110, $120. I'm like, overweight. Well, the Blackwater credit card used to take care of that.
Yeah.
These are all things that's what I'm saying. I didn't know. I mean, I'm just just some dude from Alabama that's
trying to be a
fell
coach.
into this. Yeah. I mean, so, like I've, back then I was lucky enough. I'd been on a couple of TV shows by that point, and I had a gun company that's like, we will give you a gun, and they did it no strings attached, which was, looking back on it. And now you see some of the newer guys, they get in the industry and they're like, especially military. The military are the worst. They retire from the military. Company A goes, hey, Scott, I'm going to give you this gun, but I need you to say that it's the greatest gun ever on the planet. And by the way, fly the flag of the unit you served with. I was lucky that at first nobody asked for that. And so, those are a lot of things that you're just like, it's just this whirlwind. And at the time you got 2 young kids and, you're like, man, maybe mom was right. Maybe that college thing was, you know what I mean?
I think there's a couple takeaways here. First off, just for the young entrepreneur out there, period, but also the one that's trying to get into the shooting game, right, or coaching game, that has a real passion for it, that might even be really good at it. It does a really good job on their social media and has a bunch of people that say that they love them, and maybe they even have a couple of these companies that are throwing themselves at them a little bit now, and it's looking good, and they've got, I've got my little nucleus of clients here, and I have this other job, and it's paying me X. Right. And I think if I could just get 10 more clients, or I get this one more contract, or whatever else, I could make this thing happen. And you're talking about the realities of all the things that are out there that people don't think of. But you're also talking about the suffering. It's a slog. And in a day of instant gratification, I don't think a lot of people get that. And what you see as we're moving forward in your career, and you've alluded to this a couple times, kind of what you're seeing with the instructors of today, and this isn't everybody, it's getting very popular. It's very easy to get caught up in the like, well, this guy did this in this amount of time, and they're comparing themselves, and I should get this too. Right. And so they start shilling themselves out to, company X for whatever the thing is. And now what they don't recognize is they compromise the one thing that they can't ever unfuck, which is their integrity. Yeah. And it's not because I really believe most of them, and I want to have faith in humanity, right? And I want to give people as much credit as I can. I really want to believe that they think they're doing the right thing, and they're really trying to do the right thing. I think it's through a very limited lens, and it's very misconstrued a lot of times, but I really feel like they're trying to do the right thing. And then once they figure out, there's a point where they figure out, like, oh, fuck, like I messed up a little bit here. And then rather than taking a couple of deep breaths and a couple of steps back and trying to gather themselves to approach the problem a little differently, and recognize it's going to take a little bit longer time to unfuck myself than I really wanted to do, but I'm going to have to do this anyway. They make some rash decision or have some emotional response or something that's going to get them attention like right now. Right. To take the attention away from whatever they just did, or at least gain back what they've lost in followers, in finance, in their reputation or whatever else. And it just makes it worse. And I just kind of see I see that as being like almost like an epidemic of sorts. I would agree in that. So I'll tell you something on that.
That's why for the past few years, I have made a point. When I say mentor people, I don't want the listener to misconstrue this that I'm like, you're in the shooting industry, you will listen to me. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I see a guy on the gram, and look, at this point, I can tell by video that the guy can shoot or not. I can't tell you how many times and a lot of these people, I've never met them in person. I'll reach out to them, I'll go, hey man, I see you're doing this. They're like, yeah. I'm like, you making a go of it? Yeah. And I'm like, let me send you some guns. And, it's the same reaction every time. I mean, it depends. There's a couple guys that are like, okay. A couple guys are like, are you, what?
Wait, yeah, really?
Are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, and here's why. I'm going to send you rifle. You don't tell anybody you got it from me. And you don't have to, it doesn't matter what the manufacturer is. You don't have to make a post about the manufacturer. I'm doing it so that you don't have to go down that road. Because if you go down that road, one of the things we say in SIOC is your honor is the only thing nobody can take from you. You can give it away.
Mm-hmm. Very easily.
You can give it away. No one can take it from you. POW. Nobody can take your honor. If you don't let them. It doesn't matter. You can't, but you can give it away. And because I've seen guys in the past, and I'm not saying I'm this big oracle, but I saw it in that time that you're talking about, the 09, the 10s, the 11s.
The tough times.
And coming up where I saw guys do it. And listen, we all make mistakes. There's no doubt. In the TV show thing, I can't tell you, what did I learn about that? I learned that you get a contract and you get a rider. I told you not to mention the job I did in the military. And
they don't care.
And when it comes out on the History Channel, it says Kyle Defoor, former blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I call the producer. I'm like, I told you not to do that. And he's like, well, it's better for marketing.
The shit sells.
And I tell guys that. If you're going to get on TV, make sure you have this, right? If you don't want it out there. Now, if you want it out there, whatever. So we all make mistakes like that. But that is the reason that I do that. And I'm lucky that the manufacturers that I'm with nowadays are super cool about it. They're like,
they trust you.
That they trust me. And that's one of the things when I get with a manufacturer, that's the first thing I tell them. I'm like, hey man, I'm going to give away a lot of your shit just so you're tracking. And by the way, I tell people this all the time. I own 4 pistols. I own 2 carbines, and I have 1 bolt gun. I swear to God.
That blows my mind a little bit, but I'm sure it blows other people's minds.
I don't need anything else. But at the same time, I give away a lot of guns every year to these guys to help them out. I never ask, don't tag me. Don't I'm not looking for that. That's an ego thing. I don't need to. I'm trying to help the dude out. Because if you think about it in the big context, all it's going to do is make the industry better. Because now I've got a guy who came from unit whatever the hell, who doesn't have to sell his soul to the devil to start his business. So now it's all on him now.
Let him do it on his own 2 feet.
Do your own thing, man. I mean, either do it or don't. I've had guys, I've sent them guns and they're like, hey, man, I'm not doing this anymore. Whatever. A couple years in, they're like, it's just the travel, the blah, blah. Yeah, I'm like, whatever. Keep the gun. Sell it on Gunbroker. I don't give a shit. I mean, like, it's
that
already
wasn't
done.
what this was about.
That's not what it was about.
You didn't sell your soul.
Right. Yeah. You did it right. Ain't for you. Don't, whatever. I mean, military wasn't for me. I didn't do 20 years. I did 10. I mean, it's like, no big deal. But I think that's a big thing is when you get to a position like this, helping, if you don't help other people out, how's the industry ever going to grow, man? Same as your thing, right?
1,000%.
It's the exact same as your thing.
I wouldn't be here right now.
No.
It's like, I wouldn't be, very specifically, I wouldn't be sitting in this chair right now if David and Acosta hadn't put us together.
Oh, yeah.
Bottom line, it just wouldn't have happened. And that's because
David Acosta, solid guy, by the way.
One of the most solid dudes I've met.
He's a solid guy.
And I haven't known him a long time, but I'll tell you what, I know enough in the time that I've spent with him. But the point of this is solid dudes hang out with other solid dudes.
For the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. And you can, I got a pretty good sniffer, man. I can smell bullshit from quite a ways away. And people will accuse me of being full of shit all the time. That's fine. I don't care. I know who I am. It's whatever. But going back to helping other people, I think it was like, I don't know who it was. I think it was like Zig Ziglar, one of the oldest, sales trainers in the world.
Yeah.
Right? Who just, people listen to the show. There'll be some of us maybe our age that know who that guy is, but most people won't. Said, if you surround yourself with enough, successful people, you too will be successful.
Yeah.
And just doing the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing is important. And in a day, again, going back to the instant gratification thing, I think that easily gets overlooked. And if you haven't been a part of that ever, in your life, if nobody's ever done that for you, then you don't know what that feels like or what that looks like.
Right.
You can't really buy into that. So I wonder, where'd you get that from?
And nobody ever did it for me, but there was nobody to do it for me.
So there's the other part of it.
It was just, the shooting thing was just not that big then. It was really in its infancy. Where did I get it from? I think, mindset wise, just looking at it logically, not having an ego attached to it, having a willingness level to say it ain't all about me. I mean, you could make it all about you, but if you make it all about you, here's
a lonely place there.
Like think about it like this. You already know the answer to this. What is within a half mile of every Home Depot in the continental U.S.?
A half mile?
If there's a Home Depot right here, what's within a half mile? A Lowe's.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah.
Well, do you see Lowe's and Home Depot going out of business? I mean,
no. In fact, it's interesting that you just asked that. I have 2 Home Depots and 3 Home Depots and 2 Lowe's within that same radius.
And they're fine.
And they're fucking fine.
They're real good.
Well, actually, one just burned to the ground. So the other 4 or 5 of those, however many is left there, of both brands are doing great because they just soaked up all of that business.
So here's another thing to look at is, helping people out. I call it mentoring. That's probably not the right word. I shouldn't use that word. But what about when I get a contract one day and it's to train 60 people? Well, Kyle's not doing that by himself.
He can try.
Unfortunately, there's a thing called statement of work, and it's going to say we want a 1-to-10 ratio.
So that's the thing.
So you better show up with 5 other dudes.
Yep.
And now you got to find 5 dudes. Okay, so I call Scott and
who's
I go,
in your circle?
Who's in your circle? Hey, Scott, well, here's the deal. It's got to be somebody who can perform.
Right.
It can't just be some geek off the street, so. That's
your integrity.
Yeah. So now maybe that dude that I hooked up 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, I'm like, hey, man, I need a little help.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pay you. I'm going to pay you real good. And I know you got a course going on. But, we got this thing. Can you help me? That's what I'm saying.
Totally get it.
And this happens. I've done it. I have been an AI for multiple other companies, making way under my normal daily rate, because that's the thing. It's like, somebody's got to win the contract. Right. We're all on sam.gov and we're all trying to get it. Somebody's going to get it, and it's an interesting thing, because what you end up realizing is, if you take the ego away from it and you look at it as not really competition, but more of it is a thing at a certain point, especially a high level. And I've told people this before, there ain't a lot of contacts in the phone that I can do that to.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably 10.
It's a tight circle, yeah.
And I would tell anybody that's listening to this, find 10 guys that, are going to do this contract. I mean, you got to be able, and we're talking about not just a specialist. You got to be able to shoot pistol, carbine, and you got to be able to do tactics in some capacity, depending on what it could be. A land warfare thing, could be a CQB thing, could be a vehicle thing. Who knows? There's not a lot of people out there doing that, so it makes a lot of sense to try to help those people out as much as you can. And if you see a new guy coming in that's doing that, it surely makes a lot of sense, because at some point, some of those old guys are going to retire.
What goes around comes around.
Right.
Yep.
And
I hear you.
Yeah,
I feel it's funny. I just had, was it yesterday? 2 days ago. We traveled yesterday. 2 days ago, I had a guy look me up in front of a friend and said, "Hey man, I'm thinking about opening a gym. I was wondering if I can chat with you." This kid, he has no idea what he's doing, but he's trying.
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, man, come on in. We'll sit down." We sat there for 2 hours and
Absolutely.
shot the shit about, I'll answer his questions, whatever else. I try to do that whenever I can, because I like doing it.
Yeah.
Like feelings. It feels good to help somebody out. It also going back to the bigger thing for me is, and you actually already said it, and that is helping somebody not make the same mistakes that I made.
Right.
Or try to give them, let's go back to the curriculum piece. Like, let's strip away the fat here, like in the things that you may have heard and the things that you really need to know to be successful.
Right.
Look, this is what I know. Right, and this is what I've seen be successful for me and for other people, and these are all the mistakes that I made. So I'm going to try and give you that in the shortest period, the Reader's Digest version that I can give it to you in, or however it is, so that you don't fuck this up,
Right.
The same way I did. Because, whether it's like, you don't want to be giving the city any more money than you need to be giving the city. Like, you don't need to be giving these, this parts or this equipment manufacturer any more money than they need to be giving. Here's how to do these things, that kind of stuff. Like, it feels good knowing that, you can almost kind of pay it forward. And I've never had anybody come back to me afterwards and go, "Dude, you were full of shit, and fuck you for giving me that information."
And the other thing is,
not one time.
When you look at it, you're like, okay, do you not want to help this guy out because you fear he's going to take your job?
A whole other thing. Yep.
And it's like, well, then maybe you ain't that fucking good.
That says more about you than it does about the other guy. Yes, for sure.
And that's if that's the case, I would look at it more as, I'm not worried about him taking my job. Maybe I do need to get a little better at something. You know what I mean? If you're looking at, if you're looking at it that you want to see other people fail, dude, you're entering you're entering some kind of psychotic. Like, no shit. Like if you like to see people miserable, then something's wrong with you, bro.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
You got other shit going on.
That shows up in so many places in your life too. If you're that shitbag.
In 18 years of doing this, I have never seen the competition of one instructor versus another be a thing. I've never seen that. I've never, oh man, we're not eating hun because this guy got this contract and I didn't. I've never seen that. Now, there's definitely guys I've seen come into the industry and you know, in a dishonest way try to get contract. You know, that's kind of getting into that new kind of thing again. But as we're getting into that, but I can't say that any people I've ever helped out that. And again, to the point where like Tenacor, you know, Jeff Mao, I call Jeff. Here's the thing. I don't even call him. I text him. I'm like, Jeff, can you send holsters to here? He doesn't even ask me anymore. He just goes, yep. It doesn't matter who it is. You know, Paul Buffoni.
On Wednesday.
Paul Buffoni at BCM. I'm like, hey, Paul, can you send an upper to, and he's like, yep. That says a lot about Tenacor and BCM to me.
It does, man. But it also says a lot about you that they trust you like that.
Now, I will say the first couple of times they're like, do you know who this guy is? I'm like, well, not really, but they're like, well, he's competition. I'm like, oh, well, I don't
but you do the right thing a couple of times and then there's no more questions. And then you don't ever put that question in their head again. Right. Or ever. Yeah. Like, it's just don't do anything to make them have to ask that question. Like, are you sure?
That's
are you
huge.
Sure, Kyle? That is huge. I mean, that says a lot.
Yeah.
So helping people, like getting them down the path and putting them in a position to be successful. I mean, you're still doing this. You're still being successful with, you know, Defoor Performance. Like, you know, who are you coaching now? Because to me, what it looks like from the outside, and this was another thing that came up for me in this connection is like, I didn't realize how frequently you're in the Bay Area, which is obviously where I'm from, coaching, and that you do this way frequently. I'm like, well, how the fuck did I not know this, right? Yeah. And it's likely because you're so busy and you're just constantly chasing that schedule, you know, around the country doing the things that you do. But curiously, there's looks like there's some government work there, and then there's also some open enrollment work, which leaves opportunity for people like me to jump in there. Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about sort of what are you doing now? Like, what does the company look like right now?
So the company right now looks like, generally speaking, somewhere between 35 and 45 5-day classes a year.
Wow.
For different whoever's. It's a gamut. It's a list of, I mean, so we're April of 23 right now. I mean, this year I've done Army, Marine Corps, Navy, federal. I've probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different federal guys. The crux of the work is gov.
Okay.
In some capacity, DOD, whoever, it could be, State Department, it could be, Homeland Security, it could be, whoever, Secret Service. I mean, at this point, it's not like my wife just made a bowl of all the patches and coins people have given me because we've gone through a remodel. I mean, it's like I was looking at it, I was like, I remember that now. I mean, there's really nobody I haven't trained at this point.
There's only 52 weeks in every year, man.
Well, so people always ask me that. They're like, how are you working 60 weeks a year? And I'm like, obviously there's going to be times where, especially if it's a non-shooting thing where they don't want me, they're like, look, we know what you do and we know who you associate with. I have guys that are not full-time. They're dudes I served with or whatever.
Gotcha.
Hey, can you go and do this here with these guys, that kind of thing.
That's great.
And then I have tried to pump up the open enrollment in the past 2 years. I used to do one open enrollment a month.
Okay.
I shouldn't say past 2 years. Actually, it would have been right the year before COVID is when I started. So 19 is when I started this. Now I'm trying to do 3 to 4 open enrollment a month. So I end up with about 30 to 40 open enrollments. Why am I trying to do that? Because, every year post 2019 has been the best-selling gun year ever.
Yep.
Well, I mean, again, I'm a publicly educated man from the state of Alabama, but I do understand that there's a lot of gun owners out there right now.
There may be.
It only makes sense to do more classes if you do what I do, right?
Makes sense, man. Market demand.
Which, and not to segue, but new instructors coming into the space, I have an idea for them. So a lot of work. I mean, it's not. Last year I did 306 days of work. This will be over 300 this year. And I would tell people I don't suggest it. I mean, it's not something that should not be, I'm going to try to do that. A lot of this is you create this thing and then I don't want to say it gets out of control, but at a certain point, it's like, I'm a realist enough to know that I've probably got 15 years left in me.
Gotcha.
Ish. At that point, everybody makes the good comments now about you've never had a real job. It's always been adventure. You get to travel. You're shooting guns. You're riding motorcycles.
Good for you.
I'm like, yeah, what's going to happen when I'm 65?
Yeah, totally,
because I don't have any other skills. I didn't go to college. I've literally been doing this since the age of 17.
So here's the thing, Kyle. I mean, what I hear you say there with like
306 last year.
306.
I added it up before I came.
and so you going, and you also saying like, I don't suggest that. Here's the funny thing about that, man. There's gonna be people out there, instructors out there in this thing right now that are doing this and go, what the fuck? I would never work that much. Like I couldn't even work. Like, come on, I want to teach 2 classes a month, and
that's fine.
That's totally fine. That's the funny part, and I think a little bit of it has to do with just there's some generational shit here, with regard to. I don't want to say work ethic. I just want to say like maybe their commitment to doing that much work all the time and what they're being conditioned to doing, or more specifically, not doing in their lifetime. So. To me, that doesn't sound normal at all. So, like, from the coaching side of things, like, it's funny. Like, there were times where I was working 60, 70 hours a week, back to back with clients and classes and groups and, specific sports teams and whatever else in coaching things. That's just what you did. Yeah. And that's how you made a living doing it. And at the same time, like, when the coach or when the clients aren't paying you or you're not teaching or coaching, you're not getting paid, right? So, that's the other piece of this is, like taking vacation, taking time off.
I haven't had a vacation me and my wife have not taken a vacation in, 15 years.
Right.
I don't suggest it.
Right. So that's the thing is people are hearing this, well, if Kyle did it, I can do it. Well, yeah, he did do it, but here's all the other things that came along with it.
Right.
And so I want to, again, I'm bringing back, like we talked about the suffering before. There's compromise and there's sacrifice to this in doing so. And then there's also running a smart business model where, like, I know who my audience is, right? And I know where I can get that work. And I know where it's going to pay off in the short and the long term. And I'm not trying to throw shit at the wall, right? With all these different courses and all these different things to see what sticks, to see how I can pull in this specific set of people, to maybe make this work and charge them a little bit more so that I don't have to work as much or whatever. That's not what this has been.
No.
This has been fucking grinding for a long, long time.
Yes.
And being at the same time, being very marketable. You talked about what the percentage of this is with government contracts and how you do that a little bit. But, being very, very marketable is like, if Kyle can teach, we want Kyle. Like that doesn't happen overnight. Like those are things that take a long, long time. And a lot of people moving into the space now are coming from the civilian side, which I think is very interesting. I think it's awesome because we have some very skilled civilian shooters out there.
I can name some right now.
Yeah, they're amazing, right? Yeah. And they're doing it. And the cool part about it is they're even better coaches, I think, than they are shooters, right? So eventually that curve will maybe even catch up. But you're seeing this happen. I just don't know that there's many guys out there that are gonna. We talked about Blackwater and that period. I don't know, man, if there's going to be anybody else down the road that's done and is going to continue to do it the way you're doing it. And I don't know what that means. I don't know why I'm saying that. Just that I look at it and I go, you might be a dying breed, brother.
Yeah, I've been told that before. I mean, I think a lot of it too, though, is by the mid-teens, 13, 14, I kind of realized that, I don't know. I've always looked to a guy like it could be anybody. I honestly, I'm this odd dude now when I travel. I see a guy who's done a job for 30 years, and I don't care what the job is. The job can be beer salesman. Mm-hmm. And there's just something about that he knows everything about it. And there's something about that, like my grandpa was a rancher, a farmer. He's a farmer for his entire life. Like his entire life. I mean, there's something about that. It's just, I don't know. I've always been attracted to that. So when I meet these old guys nowadays that have been doing something for, 65 years.
Respect, yeah.
They know so much. They can steal time back by, they've already done this every way possible. So I am attracted to that a little bit. My wife last night gave me a good compliment because she went to choir practice. I had to clean out the attic because we're getting some new insulation put in. Walk-in attic, all storage, all your crap, And we had two of them, 2 walk-in attics.
Okay.
She's like, just do one tonight. Just do the Christmas decorations. So she calls me like 2.5 hours later. She goes, how's it going? I'm like, it's going good. I'm sweating. And she's like, you're doing it a mall, aren't you? I'm like, yep. And she's like, I knew you would because of your personality. It's just what you do.
Yeah.
So I know that's in me a little bit, and that might be in me because honestly, maybe I'm not as naturally talented as some people. Maybe I know I got to work a little harder. But like right now, I'm at and I tell people I'm a better shooter now with everything than I ever have been.
Really?
Now, I will tell you a lot of this is some of this is gun too. I mean, obviously we've got some guns.
Oh, you mean in terms of advancement in technology?
Yeah, I mean we got some. I'm 2015 in this eye and 2020 in this eye, so iron sights are not a problem for me. I can still absolutely, and I bounce back and forth between irons and the dot just to, again, because I can, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to.
Well, I imagine you have to too, because there are some, not every department, not every agency.
It's pretty interesting. There, you would be surprised how many guys are still in irons.
But we just our local department just got approved in the last year for dots.
And just for the people listening, I will tell you that if you've never taken a hard run on irons and you're going to get into this business and you get that contract for X department that still shoots an iron-sighted Glock 17.
You're going to be in for a big surprise? You
better have you a shit ton of time on that son of a bitch, because it is a different ballgame. I like that work aspect of it. I probably personality-wise have a little bit of an issue with that, but I am definitely, it doesn't matter what gun you put in my hand right now. Like, you give me about 10 to 15 rounds, and what do you want to see? It's not going to be a problem. That's a benefit you get from working that much.
Yes.
Now,
reps.
Now, I'm not saying you can't pull that off. A lot of it you can pull off with dry fire. I do a lot of dry fire in a hotel room just like this, and I can tell you right now that it's 7 yards from that door to this corner right here, because it already is in every hotel room. And that little emergency plan thing, if you cut it in half, a zone of an IPSC.
Right.
So, I do a lot of dry fire, but it's just kind of the lifestyle has just kind of worked out like that.
Yep.
Again, I'm not saying it's the way to do it, but. It's what I've got. I don't have anything else. I mean, to the point where I think it might be even a little odd, like, with the advent of social media, you see people who are like, I want to be a shooting instructor. I'm like, why do you want to do that? I mean, like...
That's a great question.
I've asked people that, why do you want to do this? Because here's the deal. You're either really hot, really cold, getting sunburnt. It's like... You're basically like a modern day kind of a cowboy thing.
Your truck's dirty as hell all the time.
I've got a 2021 Tundra. It's got 77,000 miles on it.
Just full of dust and dirt.
It's been washed twice. It's just like, it doesn't even make sense, right? It's why do you want to do this, man?
It's the same as like somebody. Again, I bring this back because I can relate, and it's like being a trainer, being a personal trainer, because it looks sexy. Because everybody loves the personal trainer, right? Everybody loves the shooting instructor, right?
Right.
Who can shoot fast, right?
I call it a thing.
It's got the cool stuff, always the cool gear,
Being a kid from the middle of nowhere in Alabama and growing up, redneck style, I call this thing the Yellowstone epidemic.
Okay, yeah.
Because, Yellowstone comes out, everybody wants to be a cowboy. Everybody's buying boots and they're dressing like Rip. They got their hat. And I'm like, hey, listen, have you ever actually been on a working farm? Because it doesn't look nothing like it does on that TV show.
Totally.
So I know
it's hot, it's dry. There ain't no snow-capped mountains, man. Yeah.
No, and if dude, bro. Montana in the winter I've been there. It's brutal, dude.
Yeah.
So like we get a little bit of that in the fitness industry, in the shooting, in all the industries. People are like, yeah, it's sexy, it's whatever. Yeah, you're seeing what we put on Instagram.
That's the highlight. That's the highlight reel,
Do
right?
you want to see me put targets up for an hour? I mean, like that's
getting stuck in an airport, have my luggage lost.
Hey, so Sunday I was in Tampa. I was in Tampa last week. Did a civilian class Saturday and Sunday outside of Tampa, about 20, 30 minutes east. And this comes back to the thing, kind of what you started earlier. How do you work this much? People ask me, if you work 300 days, I'm like, well, check this out. Sunday night, when I got off the range at 4:00, I drove from Tampa, Mulberry, Florida, if you want to look that up. I drove from Mulberry, Florida to Fort Lee, Virginia. Mm-hmm. And at 7:00 the next morning, I was on the range.
Yep.
Now, you can do the math on that and figure it out, but basically, I got there at 5:30, slept in my truck for an hour, same clothes, and went to the range.
Yep.
And again, that is not, if you think that's sexy, rock on. But you know what I mean? Like,
I do know what you mean.
And I don't do that all the time, but it is a common thing.
I lived a life on the road for quite some time. And it was airplanes and rental cars and hotels and whatever else, and I know the challenges and the strains that can put on relationships and your health. Mental, physical, psychological health. Like, real easy to get angry when I had PTSD walking in, and when I say that, I mean legitimately had PTSD walking into airports for about 4 years after I stopped doing it.
Yeah.
I had so many bad experiences, and I was traumatized by it. I would go and I would be fucking angry, like almost not getting on airplanes angry because of how I was projecting, for the littlest things. Like, and it would give me anxiety to do that. That might be a little bit dramatic, but the point of that is there was nothing sexy about that at all. And so, people go, oh, you're living the dream. You're getting to travel all over. We fucking think I'm doing partying every time? No, you just said it. No, I got off the range at 4:30. I drove all night to sleep 1 hour in the front seat of my truck to have to get up and do it all over again. And am I getting paid? Yes, I'm getting paid. But at the end of the day, like, what is the cost of this life? And I think that, again, that's what I wanted to hear you talk about for those up-and-coming people that are coming through there, because I think that's the wisdom you have to provide beyond the stuff that they think is cool, which is the shooting and, all the guns you get to shoot.
Yeah.
The relationships you have with maybe firearms, manufacturers and all the different types of people you get in front of. All that's cool, but there's this whole other aspect to it. And so I think the question people would have, and I certainly have, is like, at some level, I think going back to like, well, you're working all the time, and you mentioned this at the beginning when we talked about IDPA and USPSA and getting out and competing and not really having the time. Well, you just outlined and articulated why you haven't shot a match in a couple of years. So people would say, well, then, Kyle, how are you even still staying relevant then if you're just out there working and training the same stuff over and over and over again? So I'll challenge you with the question, like, how would you answer that?
So one of the things I do, like talking about earlier, I will switch gun. I have to switch guns constantly anyway.
Yep.
Glock still being by far number one. I shoot for staccato. That's what I usually shoot in open enrollment classes.
Okay.
I'm constantly switching guns, and I'm constantly trying to push every piece of speed and accuracy together that can be done. I switch from irons to dot all the time. I scoped rifle with a bolt gun, scoped rifle with a mag-fed gun, carbine class with an LPVO, carbine class with a red dot, carbine class with a red dot and a magnifier. So I do that on purpose, and a lot of people see that in classes. They're like, "Why is he shooting this gun?" This stuff, they'll send me a DM or whatever. I'm like, "Hey, look, it's the life." But like, I don't ever rest on any one thing. You can look at just how we've changed the hat qual in the past year. You can look at a lot of the shooting tests and the Gov shooting tests, especially. I am always squeezing another tenth here, another quarter here, another whatever. Most recently, what I've done, and again, this is not groundbreaking. I'm sure there's a lot of people doing it before me. I've cut the A zone in half. on the USPSA.
Yep.
I'm only using top A zone and everything. Now, with that, you got to change the time standards a little bit. I mean, if you're doing a 2-second bill drill, at 7 yards on the USPSA target using the whole A zone, you're going to have to add, a little bit of time if you're cutting the target in half.
It's reasonable.
But, like what you're asking, I spent a lot of time figuring out what is that time?
Okay.
Is it double the time? Is it a quarter second? Is it a half second? Whatever.
So you're figuring it out, like what's fair?
So like my competition now is figuring this stuff out. And then the other thing I do in every military class now, I've been doing this for the military for a long time, but in every military class, and I've been doing it with civilians for the past 2 years, is they compete at the end of every open enrollment class. I make them do a competition with each other, but I set it up in an aspect of where I literally am sitting back. And now talk about coaching. I mean, I'm like, if they have a question, come and ask me kind of thing. What it means is I'm teaching them how to teach themselves and how to teach other people. And it is a competition-based format on some classic skills like a bill drill, like a 25-yard bull, things like that, a draw, from concealment. Mm-hmm. And so doing that is pretty, when you get a couple pipe hitters in your class or you get some famous dudes in your class, I've had other guys in the industry come to my class. I look on the roster. I'm like, holy shit, is that guy? Mm-hmm. Call him up. I'm like, you're in my class? He's like, I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be good. You know what I mean? And we're sitting there going back.
You're being tested a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So that's what I do nowadays. Again, stage performance, I'd be a shit show. But like shooting, I'm whatever shooting test. I mean, well, put it to you like this: post-COVID, because COVID was a nightmare. That year was really not good for a lot. For gov contracting, it was horrible because it was the first time in my life. You never see a contracting officer. You never actually see them physically. You can talk to them on the phone, talk to them on email, get the contract, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That was the first time in my life I saw a contracting officer show up to the range.
Really? To see exactly what you were doing?
No, on COVID. March 15th, 2020. Shows up and goes, you guys are out of here, you're done. It's like a Wednesday, wasn't it? Tuesday, Wednesday?
Oh, yes. And
Wednesday. You're like, whoa, I can't be done. 5-day contract. We got to go till Friday at 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. or whatever. No, we'll pay you. Just get the fuck out.
Wow.
And you're like, oh.
Somebody else is running the show.
And so that happened. I mean, we lost, in the COVID year, I lost 35%-ish of the business.
The same with us, man, at the gym.
And so what did I do? In the next year that the nation's dealing with all that shit, I became a triple nickel guy. Just little things like that, things that I can search out.
Same.
Like that's a
you have to grind
legendary pistol test. I mean, problem about it is you got to have two guys that are triple nickel guys give it to you.
Yep.
But I happened to be training a unit where there was two, and so so like stuff like that. I'm constantly doing that. I try other people's standards all the time. When people put standards up, I'm like, oh, I'll give that a go.
So I think there's a few takeaways for me on this, and one is like when I ask the question, it's actually a general question, and you did a really good job of answering that. And I think putting it in a much different perspective, which again is why I wanted to have you here and talk to you about this, because I think when people ask that question, and so that's what I said and how I put it together, is like I think the question people would ask was, how do you stay relevant? They want to know what you're doing to push yourself from a shooting standards perspective.
Yeah.
That is very one-sided and very narrow-minded with regard to all the things that you need to be able to do as a coach. And I don't ever see those questions being answered that way. And one of the things that you said is one, and I think this is important, and maybe people look at me like, Scott, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, man. You haven't been in this game long enough, whatever. But you're using different equipment. You're using different guns. Now, so when you see people go out on the range and they're shooting guns and they're showing their highlight reel, it's generally the best one they got in the safe, right? The one they shoot all the time, whether that's it's usually their competition gun, whatever it is, whether it's their carbine or their pistol or whatever. And we don't see a lot of stuff on PRS because it's probably boring for Instagram or whatever, but you're doing that too.
Yeah.
Right? And you're doing it scoped versus, the shorty versus the I think you said 14 and a half or 13.5, something like that. Whatever. The point of this is like you're still trying to stay relevant with all of those things.
Yeah.
Because you have to be, right? And at the same time, you're trying to stay relevant and push yourself from a coaching perspective, not just what I can do with the gun, but how I teach other people to be good behind their own gun, whatever that happens to be,
Right.
which is a much different skill than being able to go out there and hit targets in whatever format, whether that's in competition or otherwise, whether it's something you set up for yourself or otherwise. And to me, that's very telling that you answered it that way, because for me, that is what a coach should be saying. I think you can be a good shooter and a good coach. I think you could be a good coach and not so great a shooter. I think there's a lot of combinations of things.
Yeah,
but
100%.
But I think going back to my comparing and contrasting, like the 3 to 5 year coach versus the 15 to 18 year coach, that is the kind of answer that a more seasoned coach would give, that isn't worried about his shooting capability, right? Like
I'm not worried about it at all.
And this is the thing, like you hear the 3 to 5 year coach, if you will, say, well, all that shooting should be happening in the background. You know, you should be that good and you should be able to react and do these different things. I don't disagree, but I think that's what you said. But you're doing it at a lot of different levels with a lot of different things. And you're also examining how you can be a better coach. And the last part of that was teaching, having competitions and forcing people to be uncomfortable and also kind of step outside their comfort zone and push their limits reasonably to find that level of failure or success, whatever it happens to be, so that they can get better beyond, so that they can do it on their own.
That's huge.
To make them independent of you as the coach. And it is huge, because what you're doing, that's the whole, feed a man a fish versus, teach a man to fish kind of thing. And this goes back to doing the right thing and helping people along the line with their own careers and their own path, and whether it's giving them guns or just advice or offering to help or whatever else. Those are the things that I think create longevity.
Yeah.
And it coaching, specifically in the way that you just sort of articulated it there, is when people can go away or walk away from whatever they take away from you, whether that's some government agency, law enforcement officer, or some civilian, and they come back to you, a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, or whatever else, and they say, man, I took what you gave me and I'm still using it today to make me better. And when I go to these other classes or whatever else that they happen to be getting themselves involved in, this is how it showed up for me, and this is where I was, and this is where I am now. And you gave me the kind of the framework or the blueprint to be able to do that for myself, and they feel empowered.
Yeah.
Right? Not just because they did great on your drill that day, or they may have failed it miserably, right, that competition for the day. But if they can really take away, like, hey, this is shit that I can really work on my own, whether it's through dry fire or on the range, because I don't have that accessibility to the range or whatever, and be thinking about it and doing it later. To me, that's what good coaches are able to do.
Well, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, man. Again, I don't know that everybody looks at it that way, and people might be looking at, listening to this on the other end when they hear this, whenever we put it up, and go, whatever, dude, whatever. That sounds real idealistic, and it sounds real cute and whatever else. But I got to tell you, I've been doing this as long as you have, like on the fitness side of things, I've been doing it 25 fucking years. And the biggest compliment or the biggest paychecks I ever get from anybody is when they come to me and go, man, you changed my life because you taught me how to do it on my own.
Yeah.
Or you gave me something that helped me, that I always keep in mind whenever I'm putting stuff out. Not, I really love that video you put out on that fucking bill drill or whatever the other day. Like, big fucking deal. Like, anybody can do that anymore. I think if coaches started looking at this at a larger perspective, and there's some great ones out there right now that are really opening up the lines and getting people to go, this is a little deeper. They'll see a post, they'll hear a live IG thing being done, or maybe a podcast. They're going, this is a little deep for me. I just want to watch cool shooting videos. Cool, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you do you, bro. Go watch the cool shooting videos. Have the cool gear, whatever else. But for the people out there that really want to be a coach or are really looking to find a good coach, these are the conversations that I think they should be listening to.
100%.
And I think for the industry, which is kind of the next question, is kind of where you see it now, where you see it going. I think this is where it's evolving to. It's still very fresh, and I say this all the time, it's a very low barrier of entry to get into it. right?
Oh, yeah.
Anybody can say that.
Good Instagram page, and you're
good to go. Yeah, yeah. Again, get some flashy shooting videos up there. Some gun company throws some money at you, and the next thing you know, you're famous. But I think we'll check back with me in 5 years, bro. Going back to the first 5 years of your business. Check back with me in 5 years, and let's see how that's going for you.
Yeah.
So, again, having the extensive experience that you have and where we are, I just kind of wonder what your analysis is of right now where the industry is, given all the things that you know about the past, where it is now and where you see it going. Like, with all the things and all the reps and all the things that or when I say things, I just mean all the instruction and all the people that you see. And because the people that are coming to you are hearing and seeing the same things I'm talking about right now as they're coming to you. How are they challenging you? How are they being challenged? And where do you see this thing going in the next 3 to 5 years?
I think right now, and I've said this to people before, we are in the golden age of training right now. It will probably peak in maybe another year or two.
Okay.
And then you're going to see a decline simply now let me back up. In the tactics orientation, you're going to see a decline because we're not in sustained combat anymore.
Yep.
Now, I haven't been in sustained combat in, 18 years, but my benefit is I get direct feedback from the guys that I'm training, like this week with what I was telling you I was doing this week. I can stay relevant through getting that direct feedback. On the shooting side of it, I think we are as good as we've ever been. There are more options for the consumer than there's ever been.
Better guns.
There's better guns. There's better technology. You can find a specialist instructor. If you want to do only red dot pistol, those guys are out there. If you want to do only scoped rifle past 500 yards, like 500 is like that, maybe it's not even that, maybe 800. There are guys out there that do that. So we're in a good spot. Now, you got to realize that, like, all the guys that are there right now, they're going to have some type of, timestamp on them, whatever that is.
The clock is ticking.
The clock is ticking unless they end up kind of doing this weird thing like me. So I think it's a real good spot. What I like right now in the industry is I like the young guys that are hungry and that are kind of coming up with their own shit, right? Like
they're being innovative, yeah.
They're being innovative in a point where you're like I'll see something and I'll be like, that's kind of interesting, I think that's great. The bad part about that is you see a lot of guys who maybe say in the past 3 to 5 years, they're so into one thing that they're not spreading their wings and looking at other stuff.
Yep.
And that could get stagnant at some point.
Yeah, I think the consumer recognizes that they're going to get stagnant with that, and they're going to be looking for those other things.
Like that would be selfishly, I would say, I'm glad I'm a multi-instrumentalist at this point. Whether it's pistol or carbine or scoped or the tactics or whatever. One of the things in the past 3 to 5 years with the new influx of people that I've seen not be there, and one of the things I failed to mention to you is combatives.
Yep.
There is, the integrated combatives piece that I started basically in 2010, where we're doing the pistol stuff with the blade stuff, with the hand stuff. Mm-hmm. If you go back and look, people literally called us crazy. They said, you guys, this is fucking, it's never going to catch on. Crazy. What's this knife shit? Blah, blah. You look at it, by 2015, 2016, you couldn't swing a dead cat without everybody's a blade guy now. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, well, I didn't see you back in the aughts. What do you. And that was me and the SIOT guys kind of getting that going on. But we don't see any new combative stuff in the industry. Now, if you're strictly into the shooting piece, I think that's fine. But when you look at it as a complete system and the way that I teach my classes, here's what I tell cops every day. You know what every patrol cop does at least once a day? Touches people.
Yeah, I was just going to say, anymore, you're going hands-on. Seems constantly.
He's touching somebody at some point.
Yeah, because people are just pissed these days. They think they can say it.
And even if he's not touching somebody, him and that other guy are inside each other's reaction gap.
Yep.
And that, so we've seen a lot of good shooters come in, whether it's been carbine, whether it's been pistol, whether it's been scoped rifle in the past, 3, 5 to 6 years. But I have not seen anybody come in recently that's a combatives guy. Now, like David Acosta, you're talking about, yeah, you could say that, but he's been doing combatives his whole fucking life.
Yep.
It's not like so he might be the odd bird out there.
There's going to be a few of those.
But that's a missing piece I see. Where do I see it going? I think, with social media the way it is, I think it can only get better as long as you can filter through the differences between a marketing company and a training company. I think what we've seen in the past 3 to 5 years is we've seen people who are gravitating toward the firearms and the shooting side of it to sell hats and T-shirts or whatever the fuck it is they're selling.
Yep.
Yeah, we could sit here an entire podcast and name the stuff they're selling, but they ain't doing training.
Right.
That's probably going to get worse before it gets better.
I agree with you.
Even though we have a lot of people in the industry that are trying to police it up. I'm not one of those guys. I just don't have the personality for it. It's just I could get. Well, the other thing is I'm working so much. I'm not scrolling the gram every day. I do my post every day, and if you see me on the gram posting or commenting or whatever, it's probably because I'm stuck in traffic or I'm sitting in an airport waiting on a flight. But I think it's good we have some of these guys policing this up because, what's happening consumer-wise is they do have a lot of good choices for whatever they want to do. But at the same time, you've got a marketing company over here that I can't make a video like they make. Well, first off, you can't even film on gov ranges. So it's like, you can forget that.
It's a really good point, man.
It's going to have to be during open enrollment. The other thing is, the person, one of those people from the last 3 years who's the new gun owner, the most we've ever had, by the way, in the history of this country, they scroll through and they see this great video. Look at this, man.
A lot of production.
Very good production value, creating content, right? That word is mind-boggling to me. Well, that person's not, if they're doing training, once a month or once a quarter or some bullshit, just to make more fucking, and the stuff they're putting out is bullshit anyway. It's hard to filter through that, man. Yep. It is hard. And I can't tell you how many students I've had where they're like, well, I went to this class, and I went to this class. And I'm like, how was that? They're like, we didn't do anything. Like, It was, like, they took pictures all day. The guy was on his phone.
You hear it referred to as the $600 mistake.
Yeah. And it's like, it's hard to, so I think future-wise, you're going to see more marketing companies because between social media, between movies, John Wick 4 just came out. The gun's a cool thing, right? The gun's this interesting thing, part of Americana, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to have more marketing companies trying to sell their wares through firearms, even though they really don't sell firearms. The big problem that comes about with that is these marketing companies get to the point where, they don't have, I think I've got like 25,000 followers or some shit. Like, okay. I've got less than anybody, I can tell you that. They've got 500,000. They've got 350,000.
Right.
And their reach is more. Now this guy goes, he's this marketing dude, but he's like, you know what? I think I'll bid on that contract.
Yep.
And this has happened in the past 5 years. And it's not just me saying this. We could name the guys that do most of the heavy lifting on the gov side. And again, there's not many of them. A lot of us spend a lot of time now fixing problems. That's the contract. We go in
and unfuck a situation.
This marketing company has come in. They have no idea what they're doing. It's bad on two aspects because you've got middle management now in the government, military, federal side, police departments. You've got middle management that are millennials.
And they have relationships with these people and followers. And
that's how they pick training.
Yeah.
They go, well, this guy's got a great Instagram. He's got 500,000 followers. He's got this great video.
Yeah.
It must be good. They can train. They're training so good that they can have a media team.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've never seen that with a good training company. I've never seen that. So now, this marketing guy thinks he's actually somebody he's not. The middle manager, who's a social media kind of a dude because of how his age, he brings him in. It's a fucking nightmare.
It's a shit show.
It's a shit show beyond shit shows. It's going through the fucking automatic car wash in a convertible with the top down. And then people like me have to go in and fix the problem. And I tell people this all the time, man. I have no ego about it. I make money fixing other people's problems. Because they by the time they realize that this 5-day or 10-day or 3-day or whatever course is over, and they're like, instructor had an ND. He pointed a live gun at somebody. What I've heard it all. Dude, it's deep. And they call back and they go, hey man, we'd still like to bring you in for that thing. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, you told me you went with somebody else. They're like, yeah, well, we still need you to come in. I'm like, well, hey, price hasn't changed. I mean, like it is what, and you go in and now you got to fix this thing. This is common, man. This is a common thing in the higher piece of this industry with contracting. So that's the bad part of it. I mean, the good part of it is there's so many guys out there nowadays pushing standards.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not trying to hoist some kind of bragging flag, but before I started shooting bullseyes at 25 fast, nobody did it. They did it in 10 minutes.
That was the standard.
Yeah. I was like, it was a joke, And I was shooting CMP shit back then, right? Talk about competition. I'm like, I don't even have the fucking patience for it. If we started right now, I can name you 20 companies that the guy can burn down a 25-yard bull super fast.
Yeah, real fast.
I mean, so like think about that.
It's almost that's the standard now.
I mean, that's the standard now, right? It's like, sub 1.5 second concealed draws in a half A zone is kind of the thing now, right? That's like the deal. Like, be consistent at it, don't throw misses, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I can name guys left and right that can do it. Well, most of those guys are sub 5-year guys in the industry. I think it's great. I love it.
They're shooting a lot.
They're shooting a lot, man. It's good. It's great. I love seeing it. It's, if anything, it's just going to make me go harder.
I love that. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like, oh, this guy's young. He's 20. He's got 20 years over on me. And, I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to be like, well, yeah, I'll train more. How about that?
Yeah. I hear the nobody's going to work harder than me, thing.
At least in my mind.
From a lot of people, but I don't really think they understand what that means. It's the same. Yeah. Again, I say this and people get after me about it. It's like, back in my day, or whatever. That was just the attitude. Like, you didn't have to say it. You just did it. It's like, well, you just got to work harder. You got to keep doing it. And I think, what I see are a lot of feelings getting hurt out there because somebody can come in and do what you said. And that being a big company, a big marketing company that happens to do some firearms instruction, can get a big contract, or all of a sudden, seemingly somebody's on the front page of social media for the day or whatever about all the cool shit that they're doing or whatever. They happen to land a cool product that did well, or a cool shooter, or whatever. Somehow people are moving up, and this goes back to the being upset that somebody is doing okay. Like you were talking about I just reached out to people, see if they need some help. Like, I just want to make sure people don't make the same mistakes that I made. It's the opposite mentality, which is so weird. Like, hey, this guy's getting up, and that makes me feel weird. Like, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was, which for me was always like, I want to be in the room with the guys that are way better than me. And now
that was like my old office in the military. It's built on that.
Yeah, it's like, who's the best,
and it's constant. I mean,
and it's like, if you're a coach, right? If you're a coach of an NBA team or whatever, you call it whatever team you want. The job of the coach is to put the best players on the court right, that give the team, the organization, or whatever, the best chance to win, right? That's exactly their job. And so that might change from one game to the next, from one situation to the next, because there's situational things that happen, along the way. Somebody gets hurt, right? Or, okay, well, that could change the entire lineup because everything's built around this one person or whatever else. For me, that was the interesting part of sports, right? Is like, what is the strategy to getting better for this particular circumstance versus, no, I just need to be better. And I'm watching all these other people and I'm comparing myself to them. And so if I just do this better than they do, then somebody should wave a wand at me and say, oh, you're the best now, versus you might be the best right now.
Right.
But there's always somebody that's going to be better than you. And so you were saying, like, occasionally you see some of the younger guys or newer guys, if you will, the 3 to 5 year guys going, huh, that's interesting.
I'm like, not bad.
I've been doing this for however long and I've never seen that before. That's a little bit of a different take versus like, oh, that's dumb. That's stupid. That'll never work. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about because he only has 3 to 5 years or he has no practical application of this or whatever. I think it's a mindset thing of looking at things objectively and with, again, experience and wisdom and being able to kind of pick out the pieces that matter and don't. But you also suggested, going back to the government stuff and them hiring on people that have no idea and you having to go in and unfuck them, there's that piece too. That could get real frustrating for people. And
especially if they're limited on funds.
Yes.
They've chose bad. It's like the Indiana Jones movie when he's trying to get the cup of Christ, remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like the old man's like, you've chose poorly.
Oh, yeah,
and he turns to shit
dust,
or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we could spend time talking about how dirty contracting is in the gov side, and it's dirty. I mean, there's always, especially if you get a guy who leaves a unit and now he's a pro shooter and his buddy is now in ops at that unit and they can make it, you got a little nepotism thing going on. But you also have, you've got contracting officers, they don't really know what they're looking at.
Right.
And if it's a 3-bid thing and we're going for the lowest bid, I mean, it is what it is. I have 100% seen multiple times a marketing type company and even somebody maybe that's a little nefarious underbid a job to the point where
it wouldn't make sense for you.
It's like bizarre. Yeah. Like I'm looking at it, and one of the things is a lot of times we have to know who won. And it's like, of course we all talk to each other, afterwards. Yep. I'm like, hey, who got this? Well, he got this, and he's charging $5,000 for a 5-day class for 40 people. I'm like,
whatever.
You can't even pay for. First off, you're going to have to take at least 3 instructors with you. You couldn't even pay for airfare and hotel and per diem for your own people.
So it's like that's a tuition payment on some kind of guarantee that you're going to get the next contract.
Well, why a lot of guys do it is they have built past performance through the federal system. Especially a marketing company. I'm this big marketing company. I have trained ironclad. Boom, 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 boom. Not a lie. You have. Right. Even though it was a shit show, you really didn't do anything. And you got it by underbidding it to the point that you actually, there's no way you made money on it. You paid to be there just for the sole purpose of you being able to say you trained that particular unit.
So this goes back to the getting worse before it gets better, because this is going to have to go on for a little bit longer before the word gets out that these guys keep fucking this up and these other guys have to keep coming in.
Right.
Kyle has to keep coming in and cleaning it up.
Oh, and it's not just me. There's other guys too.
That's what I mean. When I said that, I get it. You're not the only guy. There's other guys that are out there doing the same thing, and they're running a quote unquote low profile. Doing it. They're not talking about this all the time. I think it's healthy to talk about it. And I don't hear you doing it in a way it's like, hey, this is some dirty secret that everybody should know. It's more just like,
it is what it is.
This is business, right? This is the business right now. This is where we're at. And it's exactly the question I asked, which was, where do you see this going? And you can, again, you're coming at it from the government side of things. So here's this other conversation that's happening all the time with, in the civilian crossing over into the LEO world, because again, going back to your statement, there's not a lot of mill talk anymore because there's nothing to really talk about. There's no immediate conflict right now. And we could go down a whole other, probably rabbit hole here of why we probably need something like that to bring the country back together, to continue to clean things up and whatever, as awful as that might sound. There's positive things that come from those things. But the point of this is this ongoing sort of parallel conversation. The government doesn't get enough training. It's never going to get enough training. And, if you want to get better, you have to go out and you have to seek this instruction or these things on your own. You need to compete. And I think it's all good. But what I hear you saying is like parallel to this at the government level in some places, not every place. You couldn't even probably say that. So that this is not Kyle saying that. This is Scott saying this, that it's actually getting way worse. It's not like it's maintaining. It's not like it's going to get any better. It's been getting worse, and it could get way worse before it gets better. I think
so. Yeah, I think it'll get worse before it gets better. But I also believe that when you look at the true marketing companies that are doing it for the wrong reasons or to sell their socks or whatever the hell it is they're selling. How long are they going to do that for?
That's my point.
They're not going to do it. Maybe a 2 to 3 year more run, and sooner or later they're going to get to the point where this is like we can sell socks anyway.
Yep.
We can put a chick in a bikini and sell socks
because they have 500,000 followers. They're going to do some damage.
They're going to do damage regardless. So I think that will clean up a little bit. Another interesting point to that whole thing is, I do a lot of law enforcement stuff too. I've done, big time law enforcement type things where I'm getting a section of the country or whatever for something. Obviously, I can't do that by myself. I start, reaching out to people and doing that kind of thing. The law enforcement world is where I see a lot of the Instagram shopping for an instructor thing. Yeah. Especially middle to higher management. And that creates a problem sometimes. And I mean, to a problem to, at a certain point especially when you're dealing with tactics or TTPs that the U.S. military has essentially written a book on, and you're violating that, it's like, whoa, dude, that's one thing about this industry that's odd. We don't have a professional association. No, doesn't exist. Right?
There's no certifying, organizing, regulating body for any of this.
Now, me and another dude tried to do this years ago.
Okay,
we tried to do it in 13, 14, and as you can expect, most people are like, "Oh, hell no!"
Right.
Like this should be a minimum standard of performance if you're an instructor.
There's pros and cons and challenges.
There's pros and cons, and so we don't have that. And we don't have that. The other thing we don't have, going back to one of the things you were talking about just a few minutes ago, have you ever noticed, like, in every other industry, and we can name them: surf industry, motorcycle industry, your industry, it's rare that you have as much tearing down as you have in the firearms industry, which is bizarre beyond belief to me. And I know, I know guys in the surfing. I know a couple of pro surfers through, Ryan Hurley, who, Hurley surf. Yep. The motorcycle industry, I know guys left, right, and center, just because of just 20 years, 30 years of riding a motorcycle. It's just interesting that, like, we don't have that. There's no, hey, good job. It's always, you see these people, and I don't. That's what scares me future-wise about the industry. So one of the things, maybe this podcast, what I would hope to do is I'd hope to, all these guys that have come in the present, the 5-year guys or whatever in the past 5 years, there's enough money to go around.
Yeah, there's a huge pie
I tell you what, if you don't get nothing from this podcast, get this. I've been doing this longer than a lot of people. There's enough money for everybody. We ain't fighting over the one student. This is not it's not even logical when you think about it, especially when you look how big this country is. I can't go everywhere.
Right.
Like these other guys can't go everywhere. So I think guys need to look at it more of not being so trying to find a fault with a dude and whatever, especially when he does something good, like he wins a championship in shooting, or he's the fucking whatever, blah, blah, he pulled off this or pulled off that. I think that is, you've got to look inward at a certain point and go, I'm a part of this industry. How come we're not like that and everybody else is?
I I could not agree with you more. For me, it is it's a bit exhausting, man.
Oh, it wears me out. That's why I don't do anything else. That's why I post and I get the fuck out.
That's the thing. I think it keeps a lot of good people out because it doesn't seem like even if they said something positive, somebody will find something to rip them apart on. It is very odd. And I think part of it stems from that and you brought up the combatives, and so I want to circle this into that conversation, and that is, I think a lot of that stems from people get their egos wrapped around it. I mean, I think that's the first thing, right? There's an ego thing. There's an attachment, a personal or an emotional attachment to whatever the thing is, whoever the person is, whatever the system is, whatever. Then the other part about it is there's, unlike those other industries, from a performance perspective, what is the measurable performance in this specific genre? The measurable performance is you get into a fucking real life shooting where you're having to defend yourself, or you get into, or you're in a knife fight, right? Or, something like that. And the reality of that is that's the percentage of that happening is generally pretty low, right? For the majority of people out there that are the ones actively involved in this media piece, right? The other guys are, like in your past life, like, we don't fucking talk about this. Right. Like,
and by the way, everybody's done it. It's like taking trash out. It's not even a drama. It's like, dude, like who hasn't shot a bunch of people?
Yeah. So there's, so there's that part of it, right? So, but the onlooker, the observer that has no idea about any of that is looking at it going, well, this this dude seems to know everything, and he's talking like he does, and he says he's been to all these places, and he's killed all these people, and he's been in all these incidents, he's told all these cool war stories, whatever, so they're latching onto it. Here's my point. There's no measurable way to say whether this dude is right or is wrong.
Right. Very subjective.
It is very. And so the closest thing
you can do is shooting standards.
That's all you can do.
Shooting standards. You can't do anything else.
So you can go, but however, you can go compete, right, at USPSA, IDPA, whatever. Right. And so there are some things that can be measured there, but that still doesn't equate to a gunfight, right, or a knife fight, or some type of combative situation or whatever. And so it leaves room.
Yes.
It leaves a lot of room.
So I got two things on that. You just sparked my mind. That's why I put a dip in. I got fired up. Interestingly enough, so yes, it's subjective. Now, what you could say, if you really take the ego out of it, what I do for a living, which is train people, how good are my students? Yeah. That should be the measuring stick.
Like from an objective perspective, like what are the incidents they've been in? Right. What have they done? Or even, how do they compete?
Even in class. So what I do, and I know there's a couple of other guys have started doing this, but what I've done for a long time, I literally have each student, they physically are writing their times and scores down.
Yep. They're keeping track.
So at the end of the day, I have them take a picture of it with their iPhone. And I'm like, hey, just so you're tracking, if you're wondering what you spent $750 on, here's when you showed up. Here's where you are now. Mm-hmm. Boom. Dunsky. So there, you can measure that. Now, there's going to be a lot of guys in this industry that are not going to be willing to do that because their instruction,
expose them.
Right, their instruction maybe not, can't get, and I'm not saying the 2-day
it's also
format,
your standard, what you're teaching is different than what I'm teaching today.
So that's an interesting point. Now individually, the shooting test or the competition is the way to do it. But, as you know, me putting the info out is 50% of this thing. Yes, they have to watch me do it, and I demo everything. I demo ad nauseum, like to the point where it's like, they see me do it multiple times cold, whatever it is. But, the transfer, right? Me, however I do it. And that's another thing about being in it for a while. If you do it long enough, you're going to realize, and here's the thing, you're going to realize quickly, you're going to see that person and go, I know how to talk to that person right there.
That's so
And
huge.
I hate to say this, and people who don't know how to coach or teach will argue, but coaches and teachers will agree. I can tell by gender. I can tell by race. I can tell by a lot of different, I can tell where you're, how I can talk to you, how I can steal time back from the class because I'm going to say it to you different than I'm going to say it to somebody else.
It's so weird. So you're saying this, and some people, again, going back to feelings, they might get very like, Did he just say what I think he said?
Absolutely, I did.
Exactly, and with confidence.
Yeah,
right?
because I know it's true.
That's the point. Because I've worked, so again, paralleling in my own career in sort of history, I've worked all over the country, every major metropolitan city there is. I've spent weeks in them, going into different facilities, dealing with different levels of management, customer, career paths, and whatever else. And I agree with you 1,000%.
Yeah.
You cannot walk into every room, handle it the same way, and expect the same outcome.
No.
You cannot. And that's not just, well, yeah, because you're going to have different abilities. No, there are a lot of other factors. And if you don't believe that, that's because you haven't been in it long enough to understand
correct. And
it.
that might be the 5-year guy, whatever. You know, and it's regional too. You know,
Oh, for sure.
You know,
there's culture
California
involved here, man.
Yeah, California culture, California shooting culture, which is a great shooting culture, by the way.
I'm happy to hear you say that.
Freaking phenomenal. I will say this right now, and I want to make sure that, because your podcast is probably going to be the most popular one I've ever been on. California shooting culture is one of the best. And a lot of people cannot wrap their mind around that because of the gun laws and all that bullshit. Mm-hmm. One of the best by far. Now, you do a class in the Bay Area, you're going to teach a certain way because, and I spent a year of my life in SoCal, so the difference would be go to a class in Tennessee, in middle southern Tennessee, right above the Alabama line. They need you to say it a different way. And I'm not, don't anybody infer this, I'm saying they're dumb and they need to say it slower. It's that there's differences culturally about what you can get away with in one place and what you can't get away in another. And the way that you say those things will steal time back for you as an instructor in the class.
This is what makes the world go round.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
So whoever you are, whatever, if you're listening out there going, oh, this motherfucker, I can't believe he just said that.
100%.
It is, I could not agree with you more. And if you could say that about me too, because I don't think you're wrong at all, dude.
You get a pipe hitting military unit, and I mean like dudes that, you know, their job is DA. That's what they do. They don't build bridges in the hospital. You're putting it out different. You're putting the info out differently. 100%. Mm-hmm.
So if you believe that, and you know that to be true, if you're a civilian, you're in the military, you're law enforcement, whatever else, if you believe what you just said to be true, like, oh, of course you're going to talk to that group different, then why does it make any difference about what you just said about these other groups in these other areas in these other ways? Because you can't have one without the other, man. It is the same from a theoretically, it's the same.
Yeah.
And so, but when you go out there and you actually apply this stuff, you'll find out that you're not wrong.
Right.
You're not wrong.
And the other point I was going to bring up that I didn't want to forget is you brought up like real world, like in the shooting thing. You know, the reality is, especially a cop, he's going to do 25 years and he's never going to pull his pistol out. I mean, that's the majority.
And I hope I hope it's
but the other thing is, one of the most dangerous things in this particular line of work that people don't understand. Real world success does not mean you trained correctly. Because if we look at it, I mean, we can break out our phones right now on YouTube, and I'll bet you in sub 5 minutes, I can find 50 videos.
Like body cam videos?
Body cam videos that no sights, low hit percentage, shoot to slide lock, but won the gunfight.
Right.
Doesn't mean you trained correctly. So that's why, you know.
It goes back to
yes, it's subjective, but at a certain point, you can't just, this guy that comes in, I've been in 19 gunfights and I won them all. It's like, well, what'd they look like, dude? You know, like, here's your one on video and you went to slide. What? You didn't need to shoot the guy 15 times. You missed fucking 13. You hit twice.
Yeah,
I mean,
by the way, were you by yourself or were there other people there?
Yeah, it's like,
situation?
So that's a thing that I think you try to get rid of that subjectiveness with performance. Hey, bro, if you can shoot this small target at this speed from this distance, that's a way better consistent way to go into that possible real gunfight. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
I tell people, somebody asked me for advice one time, and I was like, "You're asking me for advice? Like I've done one thing my entire life, I've never." CQB. I've never not been current in CQB as far as like teaching it goes, ever. Like, but I mean,
just been doing it for
I've
as
been
long
doing
as you've
it,
been doing it.
so it's like a joke. I can do it one way, which I want to bring up another thing on that about, teaching in different units. Make sure you remind me. But like, somebody asked me one time and I said, look, man, I had to think about it because I'm not a smart guy like that. And, but I pondered it for a long time. A lot of motorcycle rides,
Okay.
a lot of Tampa to DC rides, a lot of DC to Maine, a lot of, be prepared to be lucky. That's what I would tell people. In shooting, in tactics, be prepared to be lucky. And that's deep. Lucky is in the competition, my sight, on the fifth shot, I overgripped the gun a little bit and I induced a little bit of wrist movement, but I got lucky and hit because I know what acceptable sights look like. I can predict that's probably going to hit, and I got a little lucky on that.
Okay.
But the preparation and getting that luck is a fucking shit ton of bill drills. A lot of people are not prepared to be lucky. A lot of newer guys in the industry, what's going to happen one day when the phone call or the email comes in, they're like, hey, bro, we want you to come and train 5 days for this unit. Well, that ain't the time to be going out. It's
figuring it out.
It's 2 weeks prior, and you're like, uh-oh, I need to burn some reps. Be prepared to be lucky. That's, if you think about that, that is essentially, in my military life, that is, and that's not what we say there. I came up with that, but that is the point. Everything we do, whether it's a malfunction drill with a parachute, whether it's dive procedures when you run out of O2, doesn't matter what it is. We're preparing to get lucky. Hey,
the shit's bad.
I had a freaking main malfunction on opening. It's not my fault. I got lucky that it didn't horseshoe. I got lucky that it didn't roll into a complete cigarette and get me in a worse body position. The preparedness piece, I know my malfunction procedures. I don't think a lot of people are prepared to be lucky in any aspect. I mean, it could be a job like you do, and it's like all of a sudden Mark Twight calls up and says, hey, man, I need some help on the next Justice League movie.
That'd be a big call.
And you're like, okay, I'm ready. That's what I tell people is be ready for that. Don't let that happen and be like, oh, sorry, dude, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
Because it goes back to what we were saying at the beginning of the podcast. I get a big job, and it's like, I can't do it by myself. I have no ego in it. I start, dude, the phone comes out, and hey, what are you doing? 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 Well, I need those guys now, and there's not a lot of them to call. And, every one of those dudes I call, they're like, yep, be there. You know what I mean? It's deep.
It is deep.
It's going to take, they're going to listen to this. It's going to take you a few days to figure that one out.
I think you are talking in the same, like in parallel, similarly, but different. Like there are a few people out there that are trying to get this message across, but again, this is not to take away from the consumer of it, of what they're saying and what you're saying, or the listener by any means. But I don't think they're quite ready to hear that yet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No.
Because they haven't spent long enough to understand what that really means.
Yeah.
And I think I understand what you're saying conceptually, and it's in the reps. We talked about it being in the reps, and you have to go through the mistakes and the being able to diagnose what you actually did, like not just getting through that stage, and not. You have to be able to get through that stage and know that you did get lucky.
Yeah.
That's the first step, right? And then understand, like, what was it that I did to be lucky in your past, but also what exactly happened right there that I was able to feel, sense, react to, predict.
Yeah. It was your preparation.
Exactly. And that only comes with the reps. And for you guys out there that don't get the Mark Twight, reference, if you think CrossFit is been the only thing forever, then check out, Mark Twight's one of the originator of Jim Jones.
He's a friend.
Is he?
He's a fucking
legend.
He is.
He's a legend in my business, man.
I can't even.
But a lot of guys my age, again, I'm an old timer, so a lot of people are like, who the fuck is this? Like, I start Googling. You've all ever seen the movie 300? that one probably really put him on the map.
And those guys, not CGI.
Yeah,
those guys look like that.
Yeah, there's some old YouTube video of that, like where guys in this industry might go, yeah, I remember the old Magpul VHSs. The YouTube videos of that training for those guys for 300 was that in our industry for a period of time. It's interesting.
Dude, he helped me out. I've had a couple of injuries. It's just age and wear, because I used to do ultra marathons, and I've got some wear, right? I got to a point where I couldn't run. I had a torn meniscus in the left knee, and I got this bursitis thing in my right foot, which I'm kind of over now, and I'm back to running, but not ultras anymore. I'm kind of a 5K guy now.
Just not ultras, just 5K.
Yeah, and it's a big deal for me. But I called Dwight up. I texted him, and I was like, hey, man, like, I can't run.
Yeah.
And like the bike, a road bike on my schedule, it's just not.
Yeah, you don't have the time.
I can't carry it everywhere, I need to keep cardio to a certain spot. I got to, like, help me, like, help. Again, no ego, So he sends me this burpee workout.
I'm done.
Dude.
I'm not.
And I'm like, and I, as with most things in my life, the first time I did it, I was like, I don't have the balls to text him and go, dude, that fucking crushed my soul. Yeah. And, but I got to the point where I could do it. And then I started actually adding to it and getting it even higher than what
sounds miserable.
It was miserable as fuck. But the point is, in a 1 year time frame that I could not run, when I started running again, I lost nothing.
Performance-wise,
because I could keep the HR where it needed to be, and so I'm always thankful for him for that. And I've got some funny stories. I wasn't there, but I've got a couple funny stories of him training some dudes, and it's pretty good.
It's brutal. It's brutal. Again, check out some of those old videos on YouTube. I mean, this shit it was dirty. It was when I say dirty, I just want to say it was like you could not replicate this place, where they were training at, like in the mountains there in Utah or whatever else. Like it was at altitude. It's a warehouse kind of thing, garage. It was the original garage type gyms. Like they're
no heat, no air conditioning.
Dude, yep. There was
no heat in Salt Lake in the winter. Yeah. I've got that rep, and I'm like, dude.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. Again, going back, like paralleling things. That one definitely hits a sweet spot for me. Before we kind of start going on the wrapping this up, you mentioned something about CQB that you wanted to say.
Well, yeah. So one of the things too, like it really applies to tactics.
Yep.
For guys that are coming in the industry, and it also applies to shooting in some aspects. I'll give you examples of both. You do this game long enough, and you'll start to realize that the way that you do things, they might not be hiring you for that. And it's hard for a lot of guys to swallow that pill.
Are you making a comparison against what you do, what versus what their protocols and procedures?
Correct. Yeah, okay. Correct. So that's going back to what we were talking about, an hour ago or an hour and a half ago, where, be good with different guns, be good with different sighting systems, be good with different holsters and setups. Because what if you get that call or you're training people and they're like, hey man, this is how we do CQB. We do it this way. And it's not the way I did it in the military. It's not the way I did it real world in Afghanistan. But are you going to not take the job?
Right.
Now, at a certain point, you got to look at it. Some people would say, well, you're not experienced enough for it. It's like, well, but if I understand concept and principle more than I understand a drill or mechanics, concept and principle is the same. We hear a lot of people go, well, I do Army CQB. Well, I do Navy CQB. I'm like, let me fill you in on something. We deployed with each other multiple times. And neither place had a problem doing real world hits with the other joint. Concept and principle is the same. How you do it, who gives a shit? Now, being able to teach that, you got to open your mind up a little bit, right? A
little bit, yeah.
Because if you're going to do this for a long time, and if you're going to do this at all varying different levels, it's going to happen. And it's going to happen in the shooting thing. So an example in the shooting thing would be, I come from a place where we will bring muzzles up high.
Yeah.
Just the way it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
It's a high port or low port?
High port, low port, right? It's you know, funny. I got funny things on that too. Were you going to not take the job for the unit that only does low port?
Yeah.
I would say you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, like
if you can't adjust or adapt to that.
If you can't adjust, adapt, or so it's you can't adjust.
And you can't understand what that really actually means.
Right.
For you.
You don't have the experience level to rep it out, which again, you were talking about, what do I do to stay current? I do it all. I mean, or you've got so much ego in it, you're like, fuck you, if this is the way to do it, it's my way. And it's like, bro, like, you're not going to be in this industry that long. Yeah. I mean, hey, there's people that they can't do appendix carry. There are units, there are commands, there are multiple places they don't do appendix. So where do you go? I've developed 2 of the best-selling appendix holsters of all time. Yeah. I'm not going to deny the job.
Right.
I'm going to wear 3 o'clock inside the waistband. That's what I'm going to do.
Because you can.
Because I can, and I'm good at it.
Yeah.
Because I rep it out.
Man, that
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I think there's you mentioned ego, whether you can or you can't as well, but there's also like if your belief system is that deep rooted that you can't be open minded enough to look at like, well, maybe there's something to this and I should go practice this, learn from somebody. Maybe go fucking take a class from somebody that is doing this on a regular basis, that has a good reputation or whatever, so that I can then take the good stuff with what I already know and put it into it so I can then take that contract. Then you're not staying relevant, which is the last piece to this, which is how do you stay relevant? Yeah. You make sure that you keep yourself marketable to all the different things that are offered to you, and you're not pigeonholing yourself into one thing. And that's an interesting thing as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. And this is a weird place for a lot of people to be, particularly today in today's day and age with the interwebs and Instagram and whatever, however you're advertising your business is. You're often encouraged to pick one thing. Like, what is it that you're going to be the authority on, right? And then once you're there, like you have to marry yourself to that. And you are, if you go into fitness, like you are the physique guy, you are the weight loss guy, you only train females, you only train baseball players, you only train sprinters. This goes back to the specialization in everything. And there's a fear around knowing a lot about a lot of things because that might make you less marketable. Mm-hmm. I believe the exact opposite of that. Now, that means you have to work harder.
Correct.
Than that specialist to make sure you do stay relevant, which means you got to be well read, you got to be well connected, you got to network, you got to do your homework, you got to be willing to grind, you got to be smart enough to know that all of those things are way more important than the notoriety that you might get right now or whatever else, because you're playing the long play.
That's right.
Not the short play. And again, I'm really glad you brought that up with the CQB thing, because that has been a very hot topic now for I think the last couple of years.
We laugh at it. The guys that have done this.
That's what I get.
I'm telling you, I can't tell you how many runs real world I've done with those guys. Yeah, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's concept and principle. Listen, the fundamentals of CQB are the fundamentals of CQB. They're never going to change.
Yeah, the difference between whether it's high port or low port has nothing to do with it.
We'll all go low port. Yeah. Who gives a fuck? Right. We'll all go high port. Who gives a shit?
Doesn't change anything, right?
Doesn't change a fucking thing.
So that's the thing. So again, but that's not a popular statement.
No.
Because if you've married yourself to something, or that's been your Instagram feed for the last, whatever, that we only go high port, and I've got this YouTube video that has 140,000 views or 1.2 million views on me saying one thing, for me to come back and change my mind and say something else. Right. Well, I can't do that. Yeah. Like that would make me look bad.
God forbid you say you were wrong.
Or just say, you know what, I've changed my mind.
Yeah.
And here's why, and give some context to it.
And by the way, when you do get that contract and in the statement of work it says you should have an army, blah, 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 in the house, you're going to need to call that dude up that you told to fuck off 6 months ago because you don't like his Instagram video.
Yeah, totally, man.
Because that's the only dude that can do it. Or it could be Navy. It could be
whatever.
It doesn't matter what it is. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's a thing I think, like, that's what people need to be thinking about long-term, opening up, kind of deal.
That's so smart. I mean, that's wisdom of
or it's just fucking up a lot and figuring it out like me.
That's wisdom, bro. I mean, that's what wisdom is.
Wisdom and experience.
So there's
right?
knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And that's knowing some things. And then there's wisdom, and that is knowing when to apply and when not to apply the knowledge. And again, so with all that, again, feed a man, fish versus teach a man to fish. You mentioned being open-minded and the way you're staying relevant, and not just with shooting, but yes, that's what you do. You make a living with the gun, right? And
combatives. I didn't even mention that. I mean, I make a good living doing combatives.
That's a whole other concept here, and you did allude to it, and I think there's something to be said for, again, making yourself more marketable. And here's the other things with like humans, particularly on Instagram, is we collectively get bored really easily.
Right.
But at the same time, again, if I'm trying to give credit to humans and have faith in humanity, I also want to give faith and acknowledgement to, they're gonna figure this shit out. They're gonna figure out that, oh man, this dude. And I've compared and contrasted like the fitness side of things. Like you mentioned, like there's dudes in the firearms industry, in the combatives industry, like that said you were fucking crazy, like or
integrated combatives.
Early on, this is crazy. Or people looking at you going, one way or another. I guess circling back, my point is like we saw people clean up the industry, like and we're seeing people clean it up now, and sticking to their quote unquote guns, no pun intended, on certain things. And it's not on the detail. It's on the concepts, right? And sort of the theory and how to practice it. Mm-hmm. Not like it has to be this way every time. So coming back to the combatives piece, like I see people are opening up to, oh, well, and again, going back to David, bringing David back up, like, okay, so you've been practicing that appendix thing for quite some time now, and you're really good at it. You got your sub 1 second draw, and you're hitting your bill drill from whatever, and whatever else. Well, what happens if the fight doesn't go that way? Mm-hmm. What happens? Like, what happens if that somebody closes the gap on you and they get their hands on that thing?
We got plenty of answers for that.
That's my point, right? And so people may not have realized it. Well, I got this and sitting in my waistband, and so I'm, and I've done as well as influencer X in this drill from this draw speed, and my par times are this on everything else. All right, well, what if it doesn't work out like that for you, man? Like that's coming around, right? And it's a little different. Where I think the firearms industry is like, well, here's how you do it, and they're trying to teach through Instagram,
or they're trying to teach to a test.
I
hate that. That's fucking miserable.
How do you do that in combatives? Right? You can't.
Well, you can't. You can find a problem and you can show people the best way to do it.
If it happens that way.
Right. I would tell you on the combatives thing, Sayat Kali right now, we are light years ahead of anybody else. It's not that is one thing, interestingly enough, in the past few years, especially because guys that are coming in are not really wholly combatives based. It's more it's more really, I'm a BJJ black belt. Yep. I'm a BJJ purple belt, or what, and it's like, that's fine, that's good. We all did that back in the 90s, by the way. I mean, we're good. Keep in mind though that in a fight, real fight, there's no ref, there's no gi, there's no time limit. You're not fighting somebody your same size. There's a lot of things going on that you don't want to be extremely sport based. Now, we steal a lot of shit from BJJ, by the way. Sure. A lot.
There's a lot of good things to take from it, right?
But I would say one of the things industry-wide, and combatives is a very small part of this industry. Not like a lot of guys do it. Bill Rapier is probably David, there's some guys that are doing it. We have seen, like, I would say in the past, post-COVID, because that's a good benchmark for a lot of people because they can remember where they were and all that. We are fucking light years, and it's only getting better, because, and what I tell people, and I didn't, this is not a psyoc thing. I don't know if I came up with it. I'm sure somebody said it before me, but there's no evolution without modification. And we have been modifying constantly through a 20-year conflict of training people to the point where it's like, at a certain point, you're like, well, I mean, we know what the best way to do it is. Let us show you, and so it doesn't take me long to do it. I can just say, hey, M4 weapon retention, rifle weapon retention. Show me what you got, and I will feed you an EOTech in no time, and then you give me about an hour, and you'll have a solution to that. And that's a real thing for a lot of people. And you could say the same thing with pistol weapon retention. You could say the same thing with just myriad of things with combatives. And that's one thing I am proud of with those guys is that, and I try to model my shooting piece kind of like off that as far as the modification goes to make the evolution the way it should be. And we know that because we're doing these different,
You're not just seeing it through one lens.
No, we look at it, all the way around.
I think the lens is what we're talking about and how people are being fed information and also what they feed, the thing that feeds it back to them and the social media or whatever else, the Google or whatever. If you feed it this, it's going to give you that right back. One of the things that I recognize in the combative side, when we talk about combatives, I think it's important that we sort of almost delineate like what we're really talking about here, and it's not the sport, right? It's not sport. It's and self.
No, because I'm not going to the ground. I don't have a mat in real world.
There's no rules. There's no referee. There's no points. There's no any of those.
The dude you're getting in a fight with, his girlfriend's going to kick you in the head wearing a set of Vans and kill you.
Right.
Yeah. That's the reality of real shit.
And so what I see in that and that sort of subsection of all of this is a real respect to how that stuff actually gets put out there for the most part. For the guys that understand it the way maybe you understand it and some of the other guys in your circle, it's like, hey, listen, like there's a way to explain this. There's a way to talk about this. And then there's some things that we don't need to be talking about, right? And that is much different than a lot of the other things we've been talking about today. And because number one, we understand it can be taken out of context, and it probably will. If you put like a video out.
Oh yeah, it's happened before.
Yeah, it's going to get taken way out of context, and the comment section probably just turns into well, that's fucking murder, dude. Like that's what that is. Yeah, it could end in that. Yes, that's what it is. And so how do you? I think at some point people are going to want to see and feel and get more of that because they're going to recognize, dude, like I'm very one-sided. I am very I'm really
gun doesn't solve all the problems.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like
in fact, it'll get you into a lot of problems when you bring it out.
That's what I was going to say. More trouble than you can even.
And if
imagine.
You got a rifle slung, you've already got it out, and it's just somebody gets a hold of it or the sling, you got issues.
So many things, and I think again, having faith, like people are going to kind of come to realization of this, and they're going to want more of this. So, sort of the last questions, and as we wrap up here, but. How do you see the evolution of that happening? The combatives piece, the integrative combatives piece happening in the future? Is there a better way, taking all the lessons that you've learned and all the things that you've seen happen, they say through social, whatnot, is there a way to do this and deliver this information so that it doesn't turn into the shit show that we see happening? There's going to be idiots. There's going to be a bit of this. But if there was a way... Can you describe it?
So, twofold. On the government military side, when we train people that are asking about it, we will, either go dry or sim or paint or whatever, and without any instruction and literally show them. Because and that's always a weird Monday.
I'm sure it is
because they
minds are blown.
They've asked for this. They've paid for it. Here it is. You've got to start that out with what do you have right now?
Yeah, you have to kind of wipe the slate clean, I would imagine.
And they're like, well, I'm going to muzzle strike you in the chest. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Go ahead.
I'm not even going to wear a pad. I'm going to wear iPro, gloves, and a mouthpiece, and a cup. That's all I'm wearing. You go ahead and do all your muzzle striking because it's never going to happen. And, you'll get some guys, well, you guys know it's coming. And, well, okay, I'll put my hands down. I'll put my hands up. Whatever, and you show them, and they're like, oh. And then after they see that, they get the training and they see it, and we're like, hey, check this out. And you're right. This is a unicorn because not a lot of people want to buy into that. It's hard. It's hard to learn. It's
physical.
It's physical.
Yeah, you can't show up out of shape.
And there's a lot of egos. I mean, you got the 20-year guy who's been like, I've done 5,000 entries, and I'm like, well, how many of them were opposed? How many of them were a guy who wanted to fight?
So how many guys? Yeah,
because that's a big difference.
How many times you get shot back at?
On the civilian side, the other piece that I do combatives in every class, every pistol and carbine class, I do it. Now I do an intro version of that, a few hours, but it's enough to where people go, holy shit.
Yeah, it opens their mind
up. And I'm like, yeah, what are you going to, and I'll ask them, what are you going to do if you didn't know what you just went through? What's your plan? What are you going to, and they're like, well, I don't have one. I'm like, correct. Most people don't. And that, now, and then from there, guys can go off and now they can go train with a specific, Tom Kyer or Carl Atienza or Harley Elmore or Bill Rapier or what. Now they can, hey, I want to do 5 days of just this. And we get this thing going and that creates an entire mindset thing that's like.
I think it's exciting.
Oh, it's.
Because the more guys I talk to and the more I kind of explore and get into this, the more you realize how much is out there to be learned. Right. But also for me, I also look at it go, as this stuff starts to pick up steam and people start to understand this, I think the comments sections in a lot of these.
Oh, they're hilarious.
Oh, yeah, but I think it'll change.
Yeah.
Because I think the guy that can be sitting there, kind of the way I put this is the dude that's sitting there in his mom's basement under his Lightning McQueen sheets, eating his fucking peanut butter and jelly sandwich and just lighting up the comments section in every way he can.
Right.
But loses his breath climbing to the top of the stairs from the basement to his mom's kitchen. That shit starts going away after a while because they start to realize, like, even if this could be a dude that spends five days a week on the range too. They recognize it almost turns into like, oh, that's all you got? Yeah. Because if that's all you got, then we're not even having a fucking conversation anymore. So there's a little bit of like excitement in my mind about kind of how things evolve over time, and that is not to take away from many of these super talented coaches, shooters, competition shooters at all.
I mean, it's like,
but if the reason you jumped into this is because you're trying to be a protector of your family and maybe a protector of yourself, your community, and whatever else,
the gun's gonna be the last thing you use.
And I don't think a lot of people, they still haven't realized that yet. And the responsibility that carries, when by carrying. And the fact that probably more people end up getting themselves into trouble or could get themselves into trouble because they have an overinflated self-ego and self-confidence about what they're actually capable of doing. And then obviously, you've mentioned it several times, we got more gun owners. I would venture to say more gun carriers than we've ever had in the history of the country or the world, for that matter, right here in the United States. There's a certain amount of good, I think, that comes with that, but there's also a lot of unknown, which makes this unknown to them exciting for me because, if people start to discover this a little bit, it gives them a whole different perspective of how to maybe be thinking about things a little differently. And I think it weeds out a lot of the trash, that's out there. Not that jiu-jitsu for sport and tournaments and whatever else.
It's freaking great.
Fucking awesome.
I did it for years.
Oh, it's awesome, right? I mean, all of those things, and getting your kids into Taekwondo or, whatever at the local Kung Fu place. Keep doing that.
Yeah.
Keep doing that because those people will also realize, like, okay, this is one thing of many things.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that's exciting about it is I think it leaves open like a whole other conversation for us to have another time.
Oh, so here's how I want to end it. Actually, you made me think of this. I didn't have this planned. There are dudes in this industry right now. They're in this space that I, I've kind of been looking at, and they're only missing the combatives piece. That's all they're missing. And I am going to make a big effort to turn them into that dude.
To reach out?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's happening. And how you do that is definitely, it's not going to be a phone call. Hey, dude, you're really good at pistol and carbine. You're really fast. You're really accurate. And you're a grand wizard or master or whatever the fuck bullshit. You got it. Here's what you're missing. That's not the phone call. The phone call, it's not. It's just you just show them. Hey, man, what this problem, and there's a couple of dudes like that and one in particular that I think I've almost got my hooks in him.
Oh, nice.
and if it happens, it's going to be, and I've talked to a couple of psyop guys about it, and it's like they're like, dude. I'm like, yeah, that's the guy.
So that's
it would be, because here's the thing: it's just one more guy that can help us, and now he's a complete guy. He is. There's no chinks in that dude's armor now.
That is a way different way of building the circle.
Yeah.
Than how it typically goes.
Right. Most people would not do that.
No, nobody does that,
right.
man. Nobody does that. It's like I give them enough, like I show them these things on Instagram, and I hope that they come to the trough, to drink. Versus, no, I'm inviting you into the circle.
Yeah.
It's a tight circle, and I'm not doing it in an insulting way. It's just like, hey, man, I have some things to share with you, and if as what usually happens once people get shown the stuff, which is how it's happened to me too. I was like, oh fuck. Like I hadn't thought about that before. And it's like, yeah, I probably want to know a little bit more about this. And again, building the circle and building the family, the tribe.
The
tribe that way is completely different than what's going on now. And once that tribe is built, if done properly,
it's
that's a force to be reckoned with. Because then it's interesting, speaking of the word tribe, I don't know if you read that book by Sebastian.
I have a copy of it. Actually, interestingly enough, a person that works at the VA gave it to me. I haven't read it yet, though. I don't get a lot of time to read, man.
I don't know, man. Get it on audiobooks and listen to it.
Well, that's what I do when I drive.
It's only like 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
And that's how I usually consume stuff now, too, is I'll do it like on a drive or even a workout or a bike ride or whatever. I got through this one literally just on it just got recommended to me by a friend, Joe, and I listened to it on the way into here.
I need to do that.
And it talks about what we're talking about right now in terms of how community and their people's commitment to that community and the reasons why they're committed to that and how that basically eliminates, for a lot of reasons, read the book, why there is no infighting. And why there is a high level of respect, and why that the biggest, I guess, crimes you could commit would be by taking and not giving.
Oh yeah,
right.
We're big into that,
and by dishonoring, that community by basically by degrading it. Yeah. By taking away from it and not respecting it.
Yeah.
And again, if you're building it in the way that's a tribe.
So, and we call it 10,000 hands.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I didn't invent any of that shit.
Right.
It came 20 years ago, and 30 years ago, and 100 years ago, and 500 years ago, and it goes all the way back to 10,000 people. I guarantee you, there's 10,000 people that have influence on it.
Yeah.
So we call it 10,000 hands because every time I draw my pistol, every time I draw my blade, I'm drawing it with 10,000 hands of prior knowledge in it. And that's, But again, I'm an obsessive dude in this place, so I'm probably an oddball.
I think there's a lot of obsessive dudes.
Yeah.
And I think, again, that obsessiveness in a lot of ways, I think you were saying it earlier, but weren't saying it. I'll say it. When you're talking about the moving stuff around into the attic, there's a little bit of OCD there.
Yeah.
Right? But the great ones, they all have a little bit of that. They all have a little bit of that. Little ADD, little OCD, like there's an obsession about being really good at something, and that, and a lot of times that comes with, I want to know everything there is to know about this, not just about getting from point A to point Z, but I want to know, how do we even get to point A, right? Like, and what's the nuance between point A and point B? But there's still so many people that are just like, just show me how to get to Z, man.
Yeah. Like, if I buy a lot of gear, I'll be at Z.
How much money will it cost me, right?
Yeah.
How much money will it cost me to get to point Z in this amount of time?
Yeah.
Without respecting the journey and any of the history or anything that goes into it. So that's fucking exciting. I would,
I think you'll know when it happens.
I'm sure I probably will. But I think it also, and I think that opens up a whole nother, conversation for another time. But damn, Kyle, this is way more than I expected, man.
Well, it was good. I didn't plan anything. I just came in here and started answering questions. So
those are the best conversations.
I think so.
Those are the best conversations. I mean, again, for whatever reason, this did work out, and that we were able to sit here today. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate the time you taking time out of your busy day. I mean, we talked about your schedule, how tight that is. You came straight here from training.
I still smell. I'm sure I'm probably stinking the place up, but
and then you got to get up tomorrow and do it all over. I mean, it's almost 8 o'clock where we're at, man.
Yeah.
You got to get up and do it all over again. And again, man, like, I'm honored that you're here, and I really appreciate it. Thanks for spending time with me.
Yeah, man. The invite is huge, man. I mean, anybody that's got an interest in anything I do, I think that's humbling. I mean, it's I appreciate it, and hopefully, dude's got something out of this. And yeah, man, I appreciate it a lot. I like what you do. How many people you got? How many people listen to your podcast? It's got to be a lot.
This is a funny thing about the podcast game is we were talking about analytics earlier. There's so many different ways, and people consume it in different ways. Like whether it's on, so many people listen and watch through YouTube. So,
right.
And then we have downloads. People download. I think we'll run stats now about every quarter. I look at analytics all the time, but like it's too much to follow. So I think and we really got rolling in 2020, to beginning of 2022. So over that year, we had over 40 million views in that amount of time. Yeah. And it continues to grow. I mean, if you look at the Instagram thing, I think there's like 25,000 followers, something like that. And, there's nearly 60,000 followers on YouTube and that kind of thing, subscriptions. That it's been a weird journey. I have to be honest. I just said, like, we look at them, we kind of calculate them every quarter, because I didn't get into it to do it that way.
Yeah.
I got into it to have this conversation that we just had today, and I had a hunch that people would want to hear these and that they would find value in these. And it was really based on my own journey and wanting to know more and learn more. And it was a newer space for me. And also I predicted, in my own mind, that this thing looks a lot like the fitness industry did 10 or 15 years ago.
Okay.
Going back to what you were saying about other people, and reaching out to other people, I saw the mistakes that were made. I was resistant to social media for a reason, and that was because I saw a bunch of douchebags doing a bunch of douchebag things, and I just didn't want to get involved in that. However, I did watch some people do a really good job with it and really deliver some good information. I just didn't feel worthy enough of trying to put stuff out to do it as good as they did or whatever else. And I also didn't understand it as much. So I had a hunch that this industry is following much in the same path, and that if you play the long game here, it could be a really good thing. And again, man, I don't exactly know where it's going right now, but I did it for this conversation.
That's awesome.
So yeah, man, it's followers and listens and downloads and all that stuff. It's kind of all over the place. I don't have a product to sell like from in the industry. Like we have a gym. We sell some fitness products. We have some programs and stuff. And I hope people latch onto that. It's kind of the other side of the house when we talk about the podcast. But yeah, man, I'm stoked to be here. So on that note, I mean, you're in the business of coaching people too. I hope, and I know people will take value away from this.
Good. I hope so.
I already know that. And again, I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't think that was going to be the case anyways. And the listeners and the downloads and the follows and all the feedback that I get is generally almost always very positive. There's always the knuckleheads out there, whatever. I don't give a shit about that. And so that's good validation. But that said, I mean, part of it also is so that people understand the people that I'm sitting across from better. And so I hope that they got that. So if they want to know more about you, find out more about your classes,
sure,
all that stuff, let's handle that business aspect right now. Where do they go, dude?
Just Google Kyle Defoor. Yeah, you'll get way more info than you ever wanted, I'm sure. Classes. So I am fortunate enough that open enrollment classes sell out pretty quick.
Okay.
I generally drop them around July. So was it April, May, June, July? So 3 months from now, we will drop all the open enrollment classes for 2024. You've got a very limited time frame there. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 30 seconds. It could be 10 minutes.
Nice problem to have.
It's not a bad problem to have. Of course, it does keep me on the road a lot. But, follow social media to see exactly the date when those classes drop. I'm all over the country, California, Texas, Wisconsin, Florida, everywhere in between. Pretty much hit the same places that I've been hitting for the last, 15, 18 years. And that's the fairest way we've ever found to get guys in classes. So I would tell guys like mark it in your calendar or whatever, because it once we drop them, I do add a handful, say half a dozen to maybe 8 throughout the year, which ends up kind of being like if I'm in a military job and it was a 10-day thing and I got the weekend off and I'm in Frisco. It's
Might as well teach.
Might as well teach instead of going and drinking beer for freaking 2 days and sitting in a hotel room. So, those
that's the glamorous part. Yeah.
those pop up every once in a while. But yeah, just so around July this year, just take a look at it. Obviously, we're shadow banned on pretty much everything because it's a gun thing. I got a YouTube. You'll find it, Defoor Proformance. It is Proformance. It's just it's not a real word. I just made it up to try to be funny. I don't really take myself that seriously. So it's not performance, it's proformance. I don't even know what it means. I made it up.
Yeah, but that's the advantage of being in the business as long as you have. Like if you just put in DEFOOR, you'll
usually get it. So I post on Instagram every day. Facebook, it goes to Facebook. I don't really interact with Facebook because it's such a trash can.
Same.
The post goes there though. So yeah, check it out, man. On the IGs. So that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, man.
Again, man, can't thank you enough for coming down, and I'm stoked to get this thing out. I'm not sure exactly when we'll have it. There's a lot of
let me know.
There's a lot of stuff to put out, but we'll make sure you get some stuff.
I'll tell everybody it's out there. I'm not going to listen to it because I can't stand my own voice, which is driving me crazy with these headphones. You got the big voice though. You got the big DJ voice. Welcome to Iron Sights Podcast.
Yeah. Well, we'll close it out with that. Thanks for joining us on Iron Sights Podcast with Kyle Defoor. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, see ya.